We'll begin our meeting of the Falls Township Board of Supervisors tonight, April 20th, with a salute to the flag, please.
This is the Falls Township Governmental Access Channel 22 on Comcast, today and Channel 40 on Verizon. You're about to view the Falls Township Board of Supervisor meeting for April 20th, 2010. This program was pre-recorded earlier for playback at this time.
Okay, thank you. All right, Mrs. Pullen, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Sutcliffe?
Here.
Mrs. Wisconsin?
Here.
Mr. Harvey?
Here.
Mr. Dent? Here. Mr. Snipes?
Here.
Okay, before we begin our agenda, I just wanted to make a brief announcement and ask for a moment of silence. Chief Wilcox, our police chief, at the last meeting, in of course getting together that program and honoring the officers who have earned accolades over the past year, forgot to mention a few passings of former police officers, and I wanted to take some time to do that now at his request. Retired Falls Township police officers George Mitchell and Bill Shaw recently passed away. Officer George Mitchell served in the police department from 1955 until 1994 and was the longest tenured officer in the history of the department. His picture is included here on the wall in the public meeting room, in a portrait with 4 other officers and Chief Kirby, by the way. He received many awards in his career and was recognized for distinguished service by the District Attorney's Office. Officer Bill Shaw served in the police department from 1964 to 1980, retiring as a sergeant. He also received many awards. He'd been recently promoted to the rank of sergeant shortly before getting injured in the line of duty during a burglary. And so at this time, obviously we send our sympathies out to the families and friends of retired officers Mitchell and Shaw, and we'll ask for a moment of silence, please. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I would like to pay tribute to both of these men. They testified in my courtroom, and George Mitchell was a brilliant detective. He was just legendary, and I want to send sympathy to his family. And Bill Shaw was also an exceptional officer.
Thank you. All right, this evening we have 3 conditional use hearings at the top of our agenda, all of them regarding Clearwire, which is a company we're becoming very familiar with over the past few months. Clearwire, for those that have not been paying attention maybe, is a firm that does wireless internet access, and they are beginning operations here, and what they need to do is set up a system of antennas throughout this area, many in the township, so that they can, when they eventually, I guess, sort of come online, they can offer that service to people in this area, obviously not just in Falls, but certainly the antenna we're looking at would deal predominantly with people in Falls Township. So we're going to begin with a conditional use hearing for a property on Stony Hill Road. I know Mr. Kovacki is here. Mr. Gray, you want to start us off?
Yes. This is, as mentioned, a conditional use hearing for Clearwire US LLC, located on Stony Hill Road in Marsville. Tax map parcel number 13-28-9, and representing the applicant tonight is Nicholas Talvacchia.
Okay. We're going to begin by entertaining a motion to open the conditional use hearing.
So moved.
Second. Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Mr. Talvacchia?
Good evening. Nice to be back again. For the record, my name is Nick Talvacchia, the law firm of Cooper Levinson, on behalf of the applicant. We're here seeking conditional use approval tonight. By way of background, this matter received 4 variances before the zoning hearing board on October 13th, 2009, and received a recommendation, a positive recommendation by the Planning Commission on March 18th, 2010. And this is an application, a co-location application, to co-locate 3 panel antennas and 6 dishes on an existing 154-foot frame tower with a center line height of 124 feet. So we will be below the maximum height of the tower. The area is zone light industrial, as noted, conditionally permitted. It's Stony Hill Road. I have with me Roger Johnson, who is our professional engineer. He prepared the plans. I'd like to call him up, and he can take you through the through the installation. We also have with us our radio frequency engineer. If necessary, can answer any questions you might have. But as noted, Clearwire, which operates under the name Clear, you've been seeing, probably saw their ads on TV recently, is in the wireless internet business. And it is in partnership with some other companies such as Sprint, and where possible, it uses existing Sprint equipment. This is one site where we actually have to add the antennas in addition to the dishes because apparently we don't have Sprint equipment here. Roger, I'd like to have you sworn in, please.
I do.
And Roger, for the record, you are a licensed engineer in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania?
Yes, I am.
And these plans were prepared under your direction?
Yes, they were.
And if you could you take the Board of Supervisors through the installation?
Sure. Sheet Z1 of the packet is the site plan. As you can see, it's a odd-shaped lot, which is on the infield of the on-ramp to US 1 and Stony Hill Road. It's a wooded lot with a clearing for the existing telecommunications compound. There are several other carriers currently on the tower. Clearwire is proposing to install inside the existing fence compound. Sheet S1.
Yeah, you're on.
Sheet S1 is a blow-up of the compound as well as an elevation view of the tower. As Mr. Tavaki indicated, that the proposed equipment and the proposed antennas will be below the top of the tower. There are currently other carriers above us, so we're not expanding the height, and we will not be the highest carrier. On the left-hand side of the plans, you can see where Clearwire is proposing to install at the base of the tower. They have a single radio cabinet about the size of a refrigerator. The platform that they use is a 3-foot by 6-foot prefabricated non-penetrating platform. It has what we call lunar landing feet, which are about 12 to 18-inch diameter pads on the bottom or feet on the bottom. So it's a freestanding platform. The utilities required for Clearwire is power or electric. We will tap the existing facilities on the site. The telephone, which is different from the other carriers, is not required because that's what the panel antennas, or excuse me, that's what the dish antennas are used for in our technology as a line of sight for the backhaul. It's an unmanned facility. Once it's fully operational, it'll be visited by a technician approximately once a month to once a quarter.
Roger, there is a December 4th letter dated 2009 from CMX, Mr. Sullivan. Do we have any comments or?
No, I don't believe so. No, I looked through this. I think we're okay with everything.
So
on
we
this.
agree with all those comments?
Yes.
Okay. And what I'd like to do is put into the record, we have 2 exhibits, a electromagnetic magnetic emissions analysis prepared by DBM Engineering dated August 16th, 2009, and a structural report dated June 29th, 2009, prepared by prepared by American Tower Engineering Services. Have you had a chance, Mr. Johnson, to review the American Tower structural report?
No, matter of fact, I have not.
Okay, but this report, and I've reviewed it, does state that this tower is structurally sufficient for our proposed installation.
Yes, it does appear that that's what it indicates. Both the tower members and the foundation are indicating that they do pass.
Okay. And I'd like to offer those 2 documents for the record. I have additional copies. Would you like to see them? Would anybody like to take a copy?
Certainly.
Everybody?
Sure. Yeah, we can pass them out.
The electromagnetic emissions report.
Okay, thank you. have anything further?
No, I do not.
That completes our presentation. We're available for any questions you might have.
Okay. We'll open up to board members first for questions or comments regarding this
been
co-location for Mr. Talvacchia or Mr. Johnson, right, the engineer?
Yeah.
Mr. Zupka?
No, I have none.
Mrs. Wisłowski?
Sir, I did tell you that you made the best presentation that I've ever seen for these cell towers. And I want to say that publicly, because I mean it.
I appreciate that very much. Maybe it's time to retire now.
I don't usually give compliments, so enjoy.
Thank you, appreciate that. In case I misspoke earlier, there are 3 panel antennas and 6 dishes. Roger thought I might have said 3 dishes, but my notes say 6, and that's what the plans are, so if I misspoke, it is 6.
Okay. All right, thank you for that. Mr. Snipes?
Just for public information, the summary of findings for the electromagnetic emissions analysis states here the cumulative radio frequency exposure levels will be at least 400 times less than the FCC limits at all locations of public access. Is that a normal
Yes.
level that we would find with a cell tower?
We usually around 1%. I mean, yes, sometimes hundreds of times below the allowable limits.
Right. And this is a co-location for an existing tower.
Yeah. And they take into account the other equipment, and I point out that unlike radio equipment, this kind of equipment is much lower powered, cell equipment in general.
Did you say you would need to do some clearing of trees around this area, or that's already?
No, that's already done. I'd indicated that it's a wooded lot except for the existing clearing for the existing site.
Okay. Those are the questions that I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Mr. Dents?
No, no questions.
Okay. And obviously you said you added equipment, which usually you haven't had to do as much in the past with the
Correct.
projects you've had here. But you're still within the existing fenced-in yard, correct? You didn't
Correct.
have to.
Right.
Okay, you didn't have to expand it at all.
Correct.
Okay. All right. And just for, I know we said the address Stony Hill Road, but just for people, maybe if they're trying to orient themselves to where this is, as you're going on Stony Hill, heading toward, I guess where the off-ramp of Route 1 comes, if you're heading more toward, where the Hedgerow Woods area, it's on your right, sort of in a, down in a wooded area. Tower probably doesn't look as tall as it is just because you go down a slope to actually where the base of the tower is. But, all right. I don't know if there's any comments or questions from professionals regarding anything. Mr. Sullivan, Mr. Clark?
No, Mr. Chairman. No, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Okay. All right. And we'll close and then open up for public comment. Is there a motion to close the conditional use hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Is any public comment needed? I see no hands. Okay, then. We're looking for approval of the conditional use for Clearwire US LLC for the Stony Hill Road Tower co-location, tax parcel number 13-28-9. Is there a motion?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Motion to approve. Is there a second?
Seconded?
Okay, motion to approve and seconded. Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Zupka?
Yes.
Mrs. Wisłowski?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dent?
Yes.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. I'll allow you to switch files there, and we'll pick up with number 2.
Okay, again, for the record, Nick Talvacchia of the law firm of Cooper Levinson, I'm here on behalf of Clearwire US LLC.
Okay. All right, and this is another conditional use hearing for Clearwire, again. Similar operation, looking at a water tower on Tyburn and Newbold Roads, tax parcel number 13-47-34-4. Mr. Talvacchia?
Yes, thank you. Again, it's existing a water tank with a height of 183 feet above grade. We're proposing to add 2 24-inch dishes only. This site does not require the antennas. At a height of 189 feet. The permitted height in this zone is 120 feet. Accordingly, we were granted a height variance by the Zoning Hearing Board on 3/9/10, March 9th, 10, and then we received a positive recommendation by the Planning Commission on March 18th, 2010. And with that, I'd like to have Mr. Johnson come back and show you exactly what we're talking about.
Okay.
Do we need to re-swear this witness? No. Okay. Mr. Johnson, again, you've You prepared these plans, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Again, sheet Z1 is an overall site plan showing the existing water tank. It's on the, again, sort of the infield of the westbound off-ramp of Tyburn Road and Newbold Road. Currently, there is a fenced area housing the water tank. There are currently two carriers, or two sets of equipment cabinets out on the at the facility. Both of them are fenced in. In the rear of the property, or from the rear of the access, there's a set of cabinets, and then to the front, there's an existing equipment shelter. Clearwire is proposing to install their equipment in the shelter, so there will be no visibility to the proposed equipment inside or from the outside or anywhere on the property. Sheet S1 again just shows a close-up of the fenced-in area and what Clearwire is proposing on the left-hand side, and then on the right-hand side, you can see an elevation view of the existing tank. The antennas that they are co-locating on and the platforms are currently mounted to the top of the tank. Clearwire is proposing to install their dishes. They have two dishes that are 2 foot in diameter or 26 inches in diameter. Will be mounted above the existing platform of the array. The center line of their antennas will be about 3 to 4 feet above the center line of the existing antennas. That's required just for physical purposes to get the clearance, as well as some radio frequency design. You need a little bit of vertical separation between the two. But again, as Mr. Talbach indicated, we're co-locating on the inside the existing equipment on the existing antenna array, and we're just proposing two 2-foot dishes.
We also have another electromagnetic emissions analysis prepared by DBM Engineering dated August 17th, 2009, which I'd like to submit into the record.
Okay.
You're drowning us in paper.
Thank you. Yeah, that's right. Thanks.
With this application and with our other water tank application, we did not pre-prepare a structural report. That is one of your conditions, and we would ask that that be a condition, that we submit that after the fact. But we do have the electromagnetic, and we do have a report dated December 30th from Mr. Sullivan, a CMX report. Mr. Johnson, do we have any comments to that report?
Yeah, a couple of things. On page 2, about halfway down, item 209-50.2 D5. This section of the ordinance requires that a 10-foot wide, dust-free, all-weather surface driveway be provided within the required access easement. The existing gravel driveway does not meet this requirement. I would say we would ask for a waiver on that, since it is an existing condition. It's a non-developed lot except for the water tank, so we would ask for a waiver on that. There was also the item right below that, 209-50.2 D11, basically the landscaping about the base of the communications tower. Obviously, the water tank is not a tower. The equipment, we're going inside an existing equipment shelter. Again, we would ask for a waiver on that. And then I do have a question. I see there was the second item on that page in 209-50 about the tax map and the parcel number. The surveyor, when he was out there, there was an older plan that took some of the information from, as well as the deed and tax map. And you had indicated that, I guess this is part of 47-34. I guess when you look at the current tax map, was this consolidated, do you know, at some point?
They're asking to speak in the microphone.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I'm sorry. Item number 2 on that page, 50.2C9, regarding the survey. There were some questions regarding the bold lines. The surveyor, when he was out there and did some deed research, found an older plan that indicated that these were separate parcels, but I guess the current tax map shows it as part of a larger parcel. Do we know was there a consolidation at some point? It appears that it was the same owner.
What is he asking us?
Do you know offhand? If not, I can just have him do a little more research and see what he can come up with then.
The comment merely states what is on the tax map now.
Okay.
Whether there was a consolidation, I would have no idea.
Okay, thank you.
Anything further?
No, that was it.
That completes our presentation.
Okay.
I did.
We'll do board comment now, okay, or board questions now, rather. Mr. Zipka?
None at this time.
Mrs. Kozlowski?
None.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes. There were 2 or 3 waivers requested?
2.
2, the all-weather surface and the landscaping.
Right. Just speaking personally, I don't have trouble with the driveway surface the way it is. In terms of the landscaping, obviously the water tower, I would want to know whether Water and Sewer Authority has any interest in landscaping happening there. If so, we might do something. I don't know. It all depends and I don't have any information regarding that right now. So I don't know if anyone else on the board does.
No, not this time.
Going back to the electromagnetic emissions analysis, this one says you would be 1,000 times less than the FCC limits. And the height of the tower itself is already at 183 feet, correct?
Correct.
Our ordinance says 120, so obviously the tower already is beyond that.
Yes, and we did receive that variance for
You received the
187
variance.
feet.
Right. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Mr. Dents?
No, no questions.
Okay, I had a question regarding the 2 variances you're asking for. I'm going to ask Mr. Sullivan to comment on those.
Those comments are from the zoning ordinance, and therefore the Board of Supervisors has no ability to waive any of those requirements. The board can, however, I'm sorry, the board can, however, agree that they are existing non-conforming conditions and not require them to either landscape or pave the access road.
Okay, yeah, I mean, obviously, the board does not have the ability to grant variances for zoning issues.
Correct.
Yes, that was something I asked the solicitor about. I was pretty sure of that. I wanted to make sure I was reading your request correctly and understanding it correctly. And so if the board does move forward, what we would have to do is to consider them, existing nonconformities. Otherwise, we would have to deny, and they'd have to go to zoning, then come back, correct?
If you do not, as Mr. Sullivan has indicated, agree that they are existing non-conforming features of the site, the applicant would have to go back to the zoning hearing board and get relief from those 2 sections. But obviously, we are aware that this is an existing site. It's an existing site that's owned by the Township of Falls Authority, and we recognize that it used to be owned by the township, and they were existing non-conforming features at that time, and they have just continued as such.
Okay.
I'm not clear on what you said, Mr. Harvey. Did I understand you to say that the zoning hearing board does not have the power to grant the variances?
No, that's not what I said.
Okay, then please clarify it for
What
me.
I said was that we do not have the power to give zoning variances. The zoning board has that power.
That is correct.
Right, that's what I said.
Okay.
But Mr. Tavakia was asking for us to give waivers to these particular items, which are zoning items, and so we needed some clarification.
And the other clarification, Mr. Harvey, is this is a co-location. The applicant does not own the site, and often with these co-locations, we list certain things on the review letters and on the conditional use approval that we are requiring, but in essence, these are requirements of the site owner. And that's not the case here. What would be most logical in this instance would be to, and I know that Mr. Snipes had asked whether or not TOFA wants any screening. Well, we haven't heard that they do. They haven't made a request. They're obviously aware of this. What would be logical to do in this instance is to acknowledge that these are pre-existing non-conforming features of the site.
Okay.
May I please be told what the non-conforming uses are? Because it's my understanding that they're grandfathered in if there has not been a break in the usage, of that for whatever the zoning classification is in a 365-day period.
What are the
Yeah,
issues you're looking, go ahead.
The existing nonconformities are, per your ordinance, you're required to have a 10-foot wide dust-free access road to the tank for a telecommunications facility. It's currently a gravel driveway, which has been that way as far as
Forever.
before
Right,
the tank
yeah.
was built. Correct. So in essence, again, it's an existing nonconformity in the fact that it's not classified as dust-free. The other one is, per your ordinance, the base of the communications tower needs to be landscaped. Again, we're co-locating on it. The existing condition is what it is. There is no landscaping around the base of around the Nextel equipment cabinet, or the Nextel equipment shelter that we're going in. So again, an existing condition that's non-conforming.
If they're non-conforming and they're grandfathered in, I do not know why we would be thinking that you'd be going back to the zoning hearing board.
I don't think that's what they were intending. They were just saying that if you as the board needs to recognize that they are existing nonconformities. If you all agree that yes, they are existing nonconformities, then that's the end of the issue and we can move forward.
Right.
Thank you.
If you determine that they were not, then the chairman was saying that we would need to go back.
Right.
That clarifies it for me, because I looked at your documents.
Okay. All right, thank you, Mr. Sullivan, Mr. Clark, also for the clarification. Is there any other board comment or question?
No.
No? Okay. Then we'll, one more thing, sorry.
Mr. Talvacchia, you do not have a lease with the Township of Falls Authority at this time, or you do not have one to present to us this evening?
Let me just check with my
Okay.
If I remember correctly, they wanted us to get the approval first and then come back and do the lease.
Fine. So one of the conditions of approval would be, other than the structural report, which you mentioned also, you will need to submit a lease with the Township of Falls Authority executed by the Township of Falls Authority for this site.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. All right, is there and you're okay with that, Mr. Talvacchia?
Yes, absolutely, thank you.
Okay. Is there a motion to close the conditional use hearing?
So moved. Second. Would someone else say it at the same time?
No, no.
Oh, I thought Mr. I'll make the motion and second it.
I don't think you can do
Get
that.
it done faster.
All right, it's motion made, Mr. Snipes, Mr. Dent seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, is there any public comment needed? See no hands. Okay, then, we're looking to approve the conditional use, or the co-location, rather, and conditional use on Tyburn and Newbold Roads for Clearwire tax parcel number 13-47-34-4, pending depending on a structural report and a signed lease with TOFA.
So moved.
Mr. Chairman, do we need to make a vocal acknowledgement of the non-conforming uses or not?
I think, no, I don't think
Okay.
so. I think we sort of have in the discussion, so.
Second the motion?
Okay, motion made and seconded. Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Zepka?
Yes.
Mrs. Grzybowski?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. 2 for 2, Mr. Talvacchia.
Your luck has just run out.
Okay, third time at bat here from Mr. Talvacchia. Conditional use hearing again for Clearwire, 701 Falls, Tullytown Road. This is Levittown Fire Company, number 1. There's an existing tower there between the back of their building and Route 13. And this would be a co-location again. Mr. Talvacchia?
Good evening again. For the record, Nick Talvacchia, Cooper Levinson, on behalf of the applicant. This is an application for conditional use in an NC zone.
Excuse me, hold on for just a second. I missed a step here. Is there a motion to open the conditional use hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank
Sorry
you.
about that.
No problem. Again, this is an application for conditional use for an existing 120-foot tower. This tower did not require, application did not require variance relief. We did appear before the Planning Commission on February 18th, 2010, and received a positive recommendation. This application is for 3 antennas and 3 dishes at a center line height of 80 feet, which is below the permissible height of 120 feet. With that, I would have Mr. Johnson come back here again and show you the proposal. Again, for the record, Mr. Johnson, you're licensed engineer in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania,
Yes.
and you prepared the plans.
Yes.
All
Make
right.
sure you use the microphone there, Ms. John. They're getting the map ready, but just want to remind you.
All right, Mr. Johnson, Roger. Again, 120-foot tower, 80-foot center line, and if you could take us through what we're doing at this site.
Sure. Again, sheet Z1 is an overall site plan of the property. As you can see, it's a very long and thin parcel, which, as mentioned, backs up to Route US 13, as well as fronts Fallsington Tullytown Road. There is an existing firehouse on the facility, and there's an existing monopole structure which is located behind the building. Sheet S1 is again a blow-up of the portion of the rear of the firehouse, as well as an elevation view of the tower. As Mr. Tavaki indicated, we are co-locating at a height of about 88 feet, which would make us the 4th carrier down from the top. So again, we're not expanding the height of the monopole. Clearwire is proposing to do on the left-hand side, you can see here a blow-up of what their proposed area would look like. They're proposing to put in a fenced area that would be 9 foot by 11 foot. There is an existing HVAC unit which serves the firehouse right now, which needs to be relocated, in essence turned 90 degrees, which would also be within our fenced area. The rear of the building, there is a walkway behind that area which accesses the other carriers on the site, as well as the monopole. Similar to the other facilities, it's unmanned, will be visited approximately once a month to once a quarter. We're proposing 3 panel antennas and 3 dish antennas on this site. It would be a full install. Again, the ground equipment, single radio cabinet, approximately the size of a refrigerator. Also, again, with the platform would be the prefabricated 3 foot by 6 foot steel platform, non-penetrating.
Thank you. Anything further?
No, that's it.
While I do that, I have 2 exhibits I'd like to offer into the record. Again, electromagnetic emissions analysis prepared by DBM Engineering, dated August 17th, 2009, and a structural report prepared by Crown Castle, dated August 18th, 2009.
We already have this, right? I think for this particular site, that's different. Okay, thank you very much.
You give me any more documents, I'm going to vote no. Oh, we drown in paper. I especially hate last-minute ones.
And there was also a review letter dated December 30th,
Correct.
2009, and I know we submitted revised plans, Mr. Sullivan, to relocate the equipment or refrigeration or air conditioning unit, correct?
Correct.
Per the Planning Commission report, so we submitted that plan to you. I don't know if you've done any supplemental report. Okay. Do we have any comments to the report, Mr. Johnson?
No, again, the only item would be 20950.2 D11, the existing nonconformity for the lack of existing landscaping for the other carriers. Other than that, we're okay.
That completes our presentation.
Okay. All right, go to board comments and questions. Mr. Zipka?
Just about the non-conforming, it's, you're going to be the fourth one over there, so I don't see where it should be an issue. Apparently, we've let the first three without having to meet with the shrubbery around the base of the tower. I can't see that being an issue. So, thank you.
Okay. Mrs. Wisłowski?
I don't have any comments.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes, I'm curious about the emissions level. This time is 580 times. The first one, I think, was 580 times less than the FCC limits. The other we just went through was 1,000 times, and the one before that was, I think, 400 times or so.
Yes.
The strength of the emissions, the height of the antenna, how do these things relate? How do you decide at what height you need to put the antennas, and how does that relate at all to emissions? To emissions, sorry.
Well, the height is picked by the the design team. Whatever the RF team, they kind of juggle back and forth with what their needs are, where their other sites are located, what's available on the structure, and then they design their network accordingly. The RF emissions are based on all of that. What the frequency is for the proposed carrier, the cumulative effect of the other carriers, what their signal strengths are, what their signal frequencies are, their heights, the distance to a public area.
Take that back.
I'm sorry, go
I
ahead.
apologize. I'm sorry.
No, she doesn't have to.
Mrs. Wisłowski, we're having a conditional use hearing now. If you want to
I'm
pass a note, you could have
listening.
gotten up and given it to them. It's rude to the people who are here to present
Mr. Harvey,
information to
you're
us.
the one that's rude.
No, Mrs. Wisłowski, I'm not. I'm trying to hear this
I know
gentleman's
what I'm
answer.
doing here. You
Yes,
don't.
I know you know what you're doing here. I'm trying to hear the answer to the question from Mr. Snipes. I'm sorry, Mr. Johnson, go ahead.
Again, as I was saying, the RF emissions report and the results of that are based on many factors. The strength of signal from the individual carrier, the number of carriers, since it is a cumulative effect, the distance to a public access way, the frequency of the individual carriers being calculated, that all comes into play for the report.
And Mr. Johnson, the methodology, how to calculate is specified by FCC regulation?
Yes.
So when you're looking at a site to locate for the type of communications that you need, you're trying to balance, I'm sure, what's available in terms
Right.
of towers, where, the height you need to put it at. But I don't know whether the height relates to how far it can go, or whether that's totally determined
No,
by the
it
frequency or
is.
something.
The height that you have, especially for the microwave, design is a line of sight technology.
Mm-hmm.
It hands off and serves as the backhaul network. So that needs to see a direct line
Okay.
to the link it's handing off to or receiving from. The panel antennas are different in that they flood an area. And what ends up happening is it's basic physics. As the signal goes out, it also drops. So the higher you are, generally the power as well, the more of an area you can cover. In some cases, height isn't always the best thing, because if you're trying to get a smaller area coverage, if you have how it works in with the rest of your network. If you have other sites all around the area and you're looking for a specific spot, you may not necessarily need 200 feet high, because it'll start to overlap. So it
Which
all
can cause
depends on-
interference.
Right, so it all kind of depends on how the site lays out with the network and the surrounding sites.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Dents?
No questions.
And I have none either. Mr. Clark and Mr. Sullivan, any comments or questions?
No, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Mr. Talbacchia, this is on a site owned by Levittown Fire Company Number 1.
Yes.
You would agree that one of the conditions of approval will be that you will submit a signed and executed lease
Yes.
with Levittown Fire Company
Yes.
Number 1? Thank you.
Okay. Is there a motion to close the conditional use hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
A question of,
Oh,
I'm sorry, before you vote, I just have one question.
okay. Is there any public comment needed? All right. I'm sorry, Mr. Talbacchia, go ahead.
That's okay. On the issue about the nonconformity of the lack of landscaping, it's just, if you give us direction on that issue?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it. I think the area, it's a pretty tight area, and I think a lot of it's concrete or macadam, so I'm not really sure how practical it is to rip it up and put, plantings in when it's a pretty enclosed space.
I just want to clear for the
Yeah,
record.
so I don't really think that's going to be an issue at all.
Okay, thank you.
So.
I have a question for you, sir. Do you have any doubt that I read all of the data that was in my packet and visited the actual sites?
I have no doubt.
Thank you, because I did.
No, I believe that.
Okay, so we're looking for conditional use approval, Clearwire US LLC, 701 Falls Town Road, tax parcel number 13-40-2, with the understanding that a signed lease with Levittown Fire Company number 1 will be presented by the applicant. Is there a motion to accept?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, moved by Mr. Snipes. I presume Mrs. Vasaki will second.
I thought we moved simultaneously.
So you,
I'll second.
all right, thank you, Mr. Dentz, second. Okay, motion made and seconded. Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Zupka?
Yes.
Mrs. Vasaki?
Yes?
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Finn?
Yes.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Davakia.
Thank you very much. I have one more to go, and I'll see you maybe next month. Thank you.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, item 4.
No last-minute paperwork next month.
Item 4 on our agenda is to consider purchase of a speed trailer for the police department. Mr. Gray?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The police department is requesting the purchase of a new speed monitoring traffic trailer named the On-Site 300 Trailer. Keystone Communications offers this product. This is on the Pennsylvania CoStarz list, and they have submitted a bid of $5,100. The board is asked to consider this purchase. In addition, Sergeant Airy from the police department is here to answer any additional questions the board may have.
Okay, thank you. Sergeant? I appreciate you coming out. Just give us an idea. I'm sure people are sort of familiar with this device. They've seen it around, but just give us an idea of how it's used, why it's used, and how it's determined where it's going to go, that kind of thing.
Okay. The On-Site 300 is a speed monitoring trailer. It's manufactured by Decatur Electronics, which is the same company that manufactured the Speed Spy that we recently purchased. It's a traffic calming device. It's very similar to the current trailer that we have now. That trailer is 15 years old at this time. It deploys radar and it monitors traffic patterns. It's used by many departments throughout the state of Pennsylvania. It's capable of monitoring traffic rates and allowing information to be downloaded to a computer for review at a later time. The vehicles that pass by, their speeds will be displayed on an 18-inch illuminated lighting system, so that the driver can see their speed as they pass. It'll be able to monitor the number of vehicles, the average speed of the vehicles, the number of vehicles that exceed the speed limit, and it will record the date and the time of the survey.
Okay. All right. And how is it determined we're going to put it on this street, we're going to put it on this street? How is that usually done by the department?
Generally, if we get complaints or officers on scene determine there's some kind of a problem from an accident, we'll deploy the trailer and we'll put it out there in order to calm traffic.
Okay. All right. All right. Other comments or questions from board members? Mr. Zupka?
This is going to be used in addition to our existing trailer.
That is correct.
Okay, we're not retiring the existing.
We are not. The problem with our existing trailer is that it's 15 years old and the electronics are out of date, and we can't download any information from that computer system at this time.
Okay. Now, can that be upgraded for? Yeah.
I'm not sure that it can at this point.
Thank you.
Mrs. Kozlowski?
Sergeant Airy, hello.
Good evening.
This will be contributing to the safety in the township. I know how these work, and I'm pleased that you're getting it. I intend to make the motion. And I know that it'll pay for itself because you guys are due diligent.
Okay. Mr. Snipes?
No questions, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Dentz?
I have a comment that over the weekend I was at the Township Supervisors Conference, and I sat in on a traffic seminar, and this was one of the top items for traffic calming, and it's a way that the township can do their own traffic studies without, getting their own information without hiring an engineer. That's all I had.
Okay. Thank you. I guess a question I had thinking about it as other people were asking. What's to stop somebody from sort of hooking this up to their truck and taking it away?
Well, it has a lock on the front of it. Other than that, there's nothing.
right.
We've had the other one for 15 years. It hasn't happened yet.
Okay. I'm just curious. It just
Could
sort of-
happen in the future, but up to this point, we've been pretty successful in keeping it in the township.
Okay. It just was something that pops in my head. I kind of wondered about that. All right. Is there any public comment needed? See one hand. Is there a motion to open public comment?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Mrs. Jones?
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. This is Madeline Jones, Falls Township. A question I know that has been asked over the years regarding the regular speed indicator trailer is if it cannot be put out on a roadside earlier than 8:30, 9 o'clock, and left longer than 3 o'clock, and also on weekends. Throughout the years, other municipalities have done that over New Jersey as well as Pennsylvania. So is this something that would hopefully be considered, please, throughout the day, throughout the night, and weekends also?
Sergeant, you just comment. Do we have a policy about when we put it out, or is it all
Generally,
times?
it's put out during the daylight hours for safety. We don't generally put it out at night. We're afraid it'll be stolen or be vandalized.
Okay.
We certainly could change the policy to do so, but it would incur additional risk.
And obviously, at different times of the year, when the sun's up earlier, the sun stays out, later. I mean, we could sort of leave it out. But I understand. Obviously, if there's a lot of traffic on the roads at 7 a.m. or 7:30 or 8 o'clock, then putting it out a little after that isn't as good. So I understand the point, but I understand Sergeant Airy's point as well, obviously. So, okay. But thank you for that. That's an interesting comment. What to think about that?
What about battery life? That would be an issue too, wouldn't it?
Yes, well, what happens is you have to bring the system in. You can get approximately 2 days, 48 hours worth of battery life. It has to be recharged periodically.
Okay.
So it would have to be brought in.
Okay.
We have never left it out, for that period of time.
Right.
Sergeant Airy, I can't think of anyone who would have the nerve to steal it, and I don't know what they'd do with it after they got it. And I don't know where they'd sell it if they wanted to make money, so not even a crazy druggie would think of hitching it up and hauling it away. And you'd catch him anyhow and take him to Jan.
Any other public comment needed? See no hands, or motion to close public comment?
So moved.
Seconded.
All right, motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so we are looking, and thank you, Sergeant, very much.
I'm making the motion that we purchase the speed monitoring trailer for the cost of $5,100.
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded. Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Zepka?
Yes.
Mrs. Wysocki?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, item 5 on our agenda is consider awarding bid for landscaping services for township sites. Mr. Gray?
Yes. On March 16th, 2010, the board approved authorizing advertisement of landscaping services for township facilities. This item was also properly advertised. On April 13th at 11 a.m. in the public meeting room, 2 township employees opened and recorded the landscape bids for 2010. After review of the bids, the lowest bidder was Dawn to Dusk Lawn Care in the amount of $15,955. At this time, the board is asked to consider awarding this bid to Dawn to Dusk.
Okay. Board comment or questions? Mr. Zipka?
No, I have none.
Mrs.
Well, we've
Wysocki?
used Dawn to Dusk forever, and I certainly am going to make a motion that we award the bid to them. They do a wonderful job.
Okay. Mr. Snipes?
Mr. Gray, you feel this covers completely the landscaping that we were intending to do with this? This is
Yeah, we looked at everything that we wanted to do, and we included it in the bid specs, and I think that for the first time we're doing this, we should be in good shape. We may want to make some additional changes next year, but this should be adequate for this year.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Dents?
No.
All right, and I have none. Okay, is there any public comment needed? I see one hand. Is there a motion to open public comment?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Mr. Dell?
Yeah, not many of us bid on this. I think there was 3 of us, and obviously Don won it, which is, was fine. But what I'd like to see in the future is a better outline for what they're looking to have done, and quantifying certain areas of mulch, how many visits for spring cleanup, fall cleanup. I mean, basically, if I gave you a price for one fall cleanup, one visit to each property, it's going to be substantially less than if I came here throughout the fall season and clean it up on a weekly basis. So there's really no defining number of visits. There's no, I don't even know how you would police something. Not to say anyone's going to take advantage of it, but I don't know how you say, we want you here every single week at every property. 28 visits on the 2 ball fields, Fallsington Park, Phase 1 of the Township Park, and this place, and the mulching, spring cleanups, chemicals all year. You got to make sure, number one, you're getting everything that you're paying for, but number 2, quantify it exactly, because you want everybody bidding on the same exact thing. Right. What I bid on and what Don bid on could actually be 2 totally separate things, and I could come in lower or higher. People lose and get bids every day. It depends on what you want to make on the job, but the bids will be a lot closer, and you may have more people bidding on it if they know exactly that, hey, this is what we're looking for, and this is how many visits we expect you here, and this is the amount of chemicals we won't put down, and these are the times we would like you here, and and basically so everyone's on the same ball field, and everyone is bidding on exactly the same thing. Okay. And right now it's sort of it's a general vague sort of estimate, and there's no place even to put mulch quantities. It just says mulch price per yard. Well, I can give you a price of $20 a yard if I say I'm putting down 1,000 yards, but technically you only need maybe 70 cubic yards to do everything that you have here. But some people will skimp on material to make more per cubic yard, or tell you they put down more, vice versa. So I just think maybe if you even wanted assistance, I could set up something for you guys that, to give you more of an idea of how the bid should be set up, and I can give you an outline of, hey, this is what would make this property look good and stay looking nice, and maybe less attention at the Falls Park, because there's really not much to do out there other than cut grass and maintain a couple flower beds at the entrance. But this place has a lot of mulch beds, a lot of bushes, and you have a lot of dead stuff out here also. And so anything I could do to assist you in doing that, or if Peter wants to meet with me, I could set something up with him and give you an estimate for next year for something a little bit more specific than what you guys gave us for this bid package.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a good point. Okay.
If there are no other public speakers, I'd like to react to what Mr. Dell said.
Well, let me just see if there are any other public comment. I see one hand for public comment, or one more. Mr. Obert?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Kellis Obert. I noticed that we have 2 items for the same thing, 5 and 6. Lawn care and landscaping, isn't that the same thing?
No.
Grass cutting
Okay.
is the other.
When I first saw this on the net, I thought to myself, gee, here's a chance for the township to be a good township group. Maybe some of you aren't old enough to remember the Civilian Conservation Corps, which was called the CCCs, and so forth. And I thought, gee, wouldn't it be nice if the township took this as an opportunity to have some young men in the township and bring them on board for 2 months or whatever the case may be, and do all this landscaping and so forth. I know that Mr. Dell's very knowledgeable, and he's very efficient and so forth, but in this time of bad economies, maybe this would be a good thing to help some young men earn a few extra dollars. And seeing that we've got a 40 million or so, I'm sure we can afford to do something like that. It's just a thought, okay? You may have already got your mind made up, and your votes are already set, and Mr. Dell's ready to go tomorrow morning at 8:30 or 7.
He didn't. Oh, okay. Yeah, he didn't get the bid. No.
But anyway, I thought it was a good time for the township to think about it. Okay, I'll let it go at that.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, we do hire quite a few part-time people, including Park and Rec, or Public Works people who, some college students, I guess, or high school students who do some work for us. So we do some of that. But yeah, it's an interesting idea, considering where we are with this, having the bids out and everything done. It seems like we should just go ahead and stay with Dawn to Dusk, which of course is giving them business in bad economic times. So, all right. Is there any other public comment? I see no hands. Is there a motion to close public comment?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Mrs. Wazlowski?
Yes, from time to time, people ask me to explain this process of the bid opening and all the things that are connected with placing a bid with the municipality. This is a good one to talk about because this sheet goes everywhere. We go to Afghanistan, to China, and back again. We have Dell Lawn and Landscape, $23,950. Then we have Dawn to Dusk, $14,074. And certainly that gives credence to your request that we have more specificity, because I could not disagree on that. No, I'm not finished yet. And then we have one for $660, and that's the one that went to Afghanistan and back. Now, how we could have a local bidding $23,950, almost $24,000, and then we have another local who's been doing this perpetually, and he is just slightly over $14,000, and then comes this fella from Philadelphia, PA, and he bid $660. So that's what the staff has to reconcile, and Joe Arneo is someone who has my undying support. I think he does an excellent job with our road department, and the memorandum came to the board with a recommendation of the fellow that's in charge of our roads and our landscaping and all the outside stuff that we have to do around here, and he recommends that we award the bid to Dawn to Dusk, the second bidder, but it's in the amount of $15,955. And I know that Mr. Gray has an answer for that, because it isn't the amount of the bid, and there had to be some reason why that extra almost $1,500 came on. Let me see, 950,
Yep.
no, 1,000 something.
Yes, the math on the page that was provided by Dawn to Dusk, the proposal page, the math was incorrect.
Well, number 8, page 8 is missing in our packet. At least I looked for it and couldn't find it. It made reference to page 8. And then,
Well, that was,
at any rate, it would be in order then. The figure is correct, is it not? I don't want to belabor the point. 15,955.
Yes.
And my motion will use that figure and award this bid to Dawn to Dusk.
just to clarify, Mrs. Wazlowski, so I also saw that third bidder who had come in at $660, and I asked Mr. Gray about it, and that was their bid on a weekly basis. So that was their weekly bid, and they I think it was 23 weeks or something they were looking at, or
26 weeks.
26 weeks. So 26 times 660 ends up being
17,106.
17,000. So they're still higher than Dawn to Dusk. So that was the explanation. They had bid on a per week basis, not for the whole
Boy,
season.
that sure wasn't clear when we were doing our paperwork at home, I can tell you.
Well,
But I looked at that and thought someone was smoking marijuana.
Well, that's why I called the manager to find that out too. So, okay, so 15,955, and you've made your motion, Mrs. Wazlowski?
Yes, I did.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Second on Mr. Zipka. Okay, Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Zopka?
Yes.
Mrs. Wazlowski?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes.
Okay, next item on our agenda is consider awarding bid for lawn care services for the township. Mr. Gray.
Yes, on March 16th, the board approved authorization to advertise for fertilizing services at various township facilities. This item was also properly advertised on April 13th at 11:15 a.m. in the public meeting room. 2 township employees recorded the lawn care bids for this year. After review of the bid and being the only bidder, the board is asked to consider the bid by True Green in the amount of $13,050 for township fertilizing services.
Okay, and just for the record, Mr. Gray, in terms of last year for lawn services, what did we pay?
$16,873.
All right, so this is saving us close to $4,000, $3,800 roughly, correct?
Yes.
And I believe I asked you before, the year before that, you told me it was $19,000.
$19,331.
So we've gone from 19,000 to 16, now we're down to 13,000. So we're heading in the right direction.
Yes.
So, okay. All right, okay, comments or questions from board members? Mr. Zupka?
None.
Mrs. Wisłowski?
None.
Mr. Snipes?
No.
Mr. Dents?
No.
And I have none. Is there any public comment needed? See one hand. Is there a motion to open public comment?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ms. Jones?
Thank you. Quick question on the type of fertilizer that was being purchased. Is it earth green friendly? I mean, does it contain any harmnants, HARM, harmful ingredients?
Mr. Gray?
There are 3 applications of fertilizer and weed control. They are fertilizer for broadleaf weed control and pre-emergent crabgrass control.
So these are herbicides, in other words.
Yes.
They are.
No, yes.
Very good. All right. Thank you for that.
Okay. Any other public comment needed? See no hands or motion to close public comment?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so we're looking here for a bid or for approval for $13,050 to True Green for lawn care at township facilities. Is there a motion? So moved. Mr. Zupka, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Mr. Snipes. Motion made and seconded. Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Zupka?
Yes.
Mrs. Wisłowski?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dent?
Yes.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes.
All right. Item 7 is consider awarding bid for chlorine and muriatic acid for the Pinewood Pool for the 2010 season. Mr. Gray.
On March 2nd, the board approved authorization to advertise for chlorine and muriatic acid for the Pinewood Pool for the upcoming season. In addition, this item was properly advertised. Joan Ruth and Bill Reese attended the bid opening for these items, and Buridelli Pool Service was the only company to submit a bid. Buridelli's bid came in at $2.45 per gallon for liquid chlorine and $31.45 per gallon for muriatic acid, and both of these quotes include delivery. This time, the board is asked to consider Buridelli's bid for liquid chlorine and muriatic acid for the Pinewood Pool season for 2010. In addition, the board has any additional questions. Bill Reese, Park and Rec Director, is here as well.
Okay. All right. One question I had, Mr. Reese, I don't know if you'll be able to answer this or not. If not, we'll have to throw it at Mr. Sullivan and see how he does with it. I mean, everybody knows, I think, what liquid chlorine is used for in a pool like this one. What's muriatic acid?
I'm going to guess it's basically cleaning the sides, and they
You wash bricks with it and cement. That's how it comes off, with muriatic acid.
There you go.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Knew somebody would have to know, I guess, somewhere.
Yeah.
I've used it a lot.
They don't use that much of it. It's usually most of the time they use it in the beginning when they're prepping the pool to get it ready for the season.
Okay.
And then just little touch-ups here and there throughout the course of the summer. So.
Okay. And this is a company we've used before, as you
Yes.
said, and we're very
Yes.
happy with their service.
Very, very happy. Yes.
Okay. And Mr. Gray, I think I'd asked you, the price is $2.45 a gallon for the chlorine, $31.45 for the acid. It's how's that compared to last year?
Same rate.
It's the same rate, so okay, we haven't increased the prices. That's a good, all more good news. All right, other comments or questions? We have Mr. Reese here, standing here. Mr. Zupka?
None.
Mrs. Wisłowski?
None.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes, I wondered I'm curious what our total chlorine bill will be. The muriatic acid is not used very much, but
Depends on the weather.
the chlorine, do you have any, what was it last year, for instance? I don't remember.
16,000
Okay. So it's a
in that
hefty,
ballpark. Yeah, I mean, it's,
hefty bill to keep the water clean.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Mr. Dents?
No.
Okay. And I don't have any. Is there any public comment needed? Let's see, one hand in the back. Is there a motion to open public comment?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Mr. Erickson?
I recall summer of '81, I was working at the Department of Environmental Resources doing abandoned mine water analysis via the Department of Environmental Resources at Honk Run. And in Phillipsburg, Pennsylvania, they have a nice municipal pool. And I suppose a number of municipalities now that have municipal pools. Is the Harrisburg list that doesn't have to be bidded on, does that contain pool chemicals?
CoStar's list you're referring to, I would doubt that. I don't think the CoStar's list would have something like this. Right, Mr. Reese, I don't think so. Yeah, it's usually for bigger pieces of equipment, for things like that, like for example the speed trailer that we just approved earlier this evening, or something something like that. Usually not for smaller quantity consumables like this.
All right, just asking.
Okay, thank you. Any other public comment? See no hands. Or a motion to close public comment?
So moved.
Okay. All right, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, so we're looking at the bid specs for the Pinewood Pool chlorine and acid for 2010, $2.45 per gallon for the chlorine, $31.45 for the acid. Is there a motion to accept the bid or award the bid to Bird LA Pool Service for this pool season?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Zupkin?
Yes.
Mrs. Kozlowski?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Finn?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, next item on the agenda is consider approving re-advertisement of bids for the bus service for the 2010 summer camp program. Mr. Gray.
Yes, on March 2nd, the board approved authorization to advertise for bus trips. On Friday, April 16th, Joan Ruth and Bill Reese attended the bid opening for these items at 11 a.m. that morning. No bids were received. Since no bids were received at the bid opening, the board is asked to consider reauthorizing advertisement for bus services for the summer camp program.
Okay. The summer camp program here at the Township is very, very popular, and among the activities, in addition to the activities held at the school for the children that's done by the camp counselors, there are also trips, weekly trips to the Pinewood Pool, for example, but also trips to museums, to amusement parks, that the students, that the campers usually always pay extra for, basically. They can choose to go on the trips or choose not to. And so buses are needed for that, school buses we're looking at. So, Mr. Clark, we've put up bid once and have got no responses. What happens if we don't get any bid response this time?
We are required, after not receiving bids, after the first go-around, to re-advertise. If after the second time we advertise, we don't receive any bids, 45 days after the bid opening, we can begin to negotiate with individual companies for the bus services.
Okay, right. This was something we did last year, correct?
Correct.
All right, okay. So we have to follow the law in this situation, and the law dictates we re-advertise for it. And if we get no responses, as Mr. Clark said, then we can just sort of go with a company that we've maybe used in the past or know a little bit about and just start negotiating with them. So we're looking for authorization to re-advertise for the bus service. Is there a motion?
I move that we re-advertise for the bus service.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Okay, item 9, consider authorizing advertisement of bids for the 2010 road program, mill, and overlay. Mr. Gray.
Yes, the board is asked to consider authorizing advertisement for this year's program for the mill and overlay project. This includes approximately 10,400 linear feet of full-width 2-inch mill and overlay of 9 township roads in Fairless Hills and Birch Valley sections of Falls Township.
Okay. Mr. Sullivan, we're milling and overlaying these roads rather than doing full-depth reconstructions. Why is that?
These roads have been reconstructed in the past, and this is a list that Mr. Arneo gave us because of the width of the roads. It's not something that the Public Works crew can accomplish, so we have to go out to bid on these.
Okay. All right, and what will the roads be?
In Birch Valley section, they are Barberry Lane, sections of Birch Drive, Buttonwood Lane, Black Pine Lane, Briarroot Lane, and Blue Spruce Lane. In Fairless Hills, Durham Court, Buck Drive, and Raleigh Way.
Okay.
Those are the 9 roads.
All right. So looking for mill and overlay, authorizing advertisement for this for the 2010 road program. Comments or questions from board members? Mr. Zupka?
No, I have none.
Mrs. Kozlowski?
Yes, I have a related but not specific comment. The road Trenton Road, and I know that that is not our road, but it is in deplorable condition down near the intersection at Tyburn. You literally shake yourself to death going through that intersection. And I'm wondering who we can light a fire under to get that section of the road fixed. I'm to the point where I want to outlaw major trucks, the concrete trucks and these 18-wheelers and everything that come down there and slam on their brakes, and they actually cause the blacktop to move. And it just ruins it for anybody who has to use that road, and it's widely traveled. So I'm throwing that out. Mr. Gray, will you look into how we can take steps to try to get that section of that road improved? Thank you. I have no comment on the other one, but I did not want to forget that. I just came by there today, and I get angry every time I go through there.
Okay. Mr. Snipes?
Yes, Mr. Gray, could you repeat the names of the roads that will be worked on again with this? Or Mr. Sullivan, I'm sorry.
That's fine. Barberry Lane, sections of Birch Drive, Buttonwood Lane, Black Pine Lane, Briarroot Lane, Blue Spruce Lane, all in Birch Valley, in Fairless Hills, Durham Court, Buck Drive, and Raleigh Way.
Okay, thank you. I just want to make sure that people on those roads heard that, and it's, I'm sure they'll think it's good news.
Mr. Sullivan, what is the schedule for completion of those? For example, I'm asking about Briarroot Lane because I know they have a block party every year on that street.
Well,
And
that's the kind of information we need to know so that we can schedule around those kind of things.
good. Well, I'm hoping that they'll be able to continue to do that. I have attended those, and they're wonderful. Hi, Birch Valley.
Okay. Mr. Dents?
No questions.
Okay. And I have none. We're advertising. Here's any comments or questions from the public? See no hand. Oh, see one hand. Okay. Motion to open public comment?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
My name is Mark Smith. I'm on Oxford Road, which is one of the roads that's scheduled for the full restructuring. I know we were just talking about the overlay. I was just wondering when the decision was made for the 2010 road improvement program to move forward with this.
For Oxford Road, you mean?
Yes.
For that road? The decision, like Mr. Sullivan had said, many cases falls to our Public Works Department. They're the ones who go out, they're the ones obviously plowing and looking at the roads, and they usually approach Mr. Sullivan and tell him this road's in bad shape, this road's in bad shape, and then they can sort of shift roads around based on that. The Oxford Road, in terms of being on this program, I couldn't tell you, a couple of years at least, probably. It's been in the neighborhood of being, either this year, next year, something like that. But Mr. Sullivan, do you remember exactly when or?
Well, I mean, in 2009, we finished basically Levittown section, so we're moving into the other side of Route 1. And like you said, Mr. Arneo decided that Pennsbury Heights section was the first section of the township that need to have the roads redone. Based on the budget we had for this year, that's how we chose which roads in that particular section of the township were going to be done.
Okay. All right.
That being said, I mean, I would like to add that I just recently had my curb, apron, and sidewalk and driveway redone in August. I applied for the permits, and the township approved all the work. And I just feel that if the township knew that there was any idea that this work was going to be done, that the residents should have been at least notified when they applied for the permit. There's a possibility that, this may be done, and it's something you might want to take into consideration.
No, I think Mr. Snipes had voiced the concern.
It was because of your situation that I went ahead and talked to the chairman and also to Mr. Gray, and I think they have a procedure in place to let people know. I don't, if you or Mr. Gray wants.
Yeah. Mr. Gray, do you want to comment on what we're going to be doing to try and alleviate this problem in the future?
Yes, what we're going to do in the Code Enforcement Department, we're going to provide information at the code desk with a listing of all the roads that are going to be done in the next couple years. So residents who are coming across a situation like yours will know in advance that these roads will be completed in the next few years.
In addition, I think our website also has a listing of the roads that are going to be done.
Yes, they do.
Okay.
I'd like to be heard on this.
Sure.
I think we could do better than that. In your case, you've expended a considerable amount of money to have your apron done.
Absolutely.
And now we're coming along and we're probably going to damage it and have to redo. And, that, if we had sent letters to the individuals who, whenever the decision is made and an approximate time is scheduled for that road to be improved, letters go to every home on that road. I like Oxford Road, and I'm going to tell you why. Former Supervisor Joseph Grorick served on the board with me back in the 70s, the early 70s. He's deceased now, and his wife lives over in Fairless Hills. But 505 Oxford Road was his address. Just recently, I have been called there several times by a resident who has a beautiful home. She has since sold the home and moved to a retirement village, former Pennsbury employee. But she was driven crazy by a next-door neighbor who still doesn't have that place cleaned up. And I would like to have Mr. Gray send Mr. Bennett out to check Oxford Road. When you start down at the Briar Shopping Center, where the mailing address was for our Sewer and Water Authority, right on Alden Avenue, and you go down a few streets and you see Oxford Road and start cruising slowly up there, and on the right you will see this house that has been under construction forever. And it has been such a disservice to the neighbors. And I would like to see something done about it, and I will not forget. I will remind people, sir. I apologize to you that you weren't notified in time to prevent you from expending the money, knowing that your street is going to be done, just within the completion of that.
Well, that said, I did talk to a Mr. Jones of T&M Associates.
Mm-hmm.
And he assured me that any work that had to be done, he said it would be free of charge. And I said, well, free isn't really the point here. It's a matter of the work, the work being done. Are the residents going to be compensated that have had this done with, in less than a year's time? I just had mine done in August. I know there's several residents on Stephen just had theirs done the end of the summer of last year. In addition to that, the original curbs and aprons, the grade of the aprons was such that your cars would always scrape as you went up your driveway. And we addressed all that and made sure that our apron was level with the, the driveway and such. And I just want to know what's going to be done about that. If we have to replace these curbs and aprons, I want to make sure that that's taken into consideration as well. Some sort of compensation for the residents, and that these curbs are usable, that we're not scraping our cars up and what have you.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any objection to telling us how much you've personally spent to have yours done?
I don't have any objection to that. I just don't have it with me right now. I don't.
Okay.
I'd be
Will you
glad
keep
to.
us advised?
Oh, I will. Absolutely.
Because I think when we make the mistake, we should pay for it.
Yeah, I'll get that information to you. That's not a problem.
All right.
So I guess that's pretty much it for that.
All right.
I just thank you very much for your time.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Smith. I just want to ask Mr. Sullivan, while you're standing there, by the way, you brought up the issue, and I wanted to have him answer it. The nature of the work that's going to be done in Pennsbury Heights area in terms of the curbs and everything else, and especially the issue regarding the pitch of the aprons, is that something that's going to be looked at, or is it being looked at?
Yeah, that's all part of the design. Our aprons are no more than 8%, so there shouldn't be any problems with cars bottoming out when we're done.
Okay. Yeah, if it's a complete resurface, and I understand if maybe the pavement's going to be a lot lower. I know Tullytown Borough, they have angled curbs that kind of address that. I know in Falls Township we tend to have a squared-off curb. Another concern I had when I was looking at some of the properties in the Levittown area that had this similar situation where they had the aprons and stuff replaced, the quality of the concrete was such that a lot of the stones and stuff came up as the concrete cured, and some of it looks a mess. So I'm kind of concerned about, I paid for a quality job. I just want to make sure that, the stuff that's going to be replaced is as good as what I worked hard to get.
Right. Okay.
Well, monitor carefully and keep us informed.
I will.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Smith. Okay. Any other comments or questions? So, hands or motion to close public comment?
So moved.
Seconded.
All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, are we then, we're looking to authorize advertisement for the bids for the 2010 road program mill and overlay. Is there a motion?
I move that we advertise for bids for the 2010 road program, for the mill and overlay.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right, item 10, consider authorizing advertisement of bids for renovations to the Fallsington Library. Mr. Gray.
Yes, the Fallsington Library project is being requested for advertisement at this time. This project includes roof shingle replacement, installation of new interior storm windows, repair slate front porch, replace front door, interior exterior paint, spackle repairs, interior floor strips and varnish, new interior lighting, wall repair, and considering finishing the basement. Funding for this project is provided through the Community Development Block Grant Program. At this time, the board is asked to consider authorizing advertisement.
Okay. All right, comments or questions from board members? Mr. Zipka?
No, I have none.
Mrs. Kozlowski?
I do. The community development funds came here, and all of the county benefits, and it started in 1975 when I was chairman of this Board of Supervisors. And I love that Fallsington Library. It's like Sleepy Hollow, that little village of Fallsington, and I believe that it's a gem down in our historic district, and so I'm prepared to make the motion to advertise for bids to do all of the repairs that are necessary.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Snipes?
No, it's work that should be done, and I hope we can support it.
Mr. Dents?
No, no questions.
Okay. A comment I had was just to thank Mr. Gray. He's been working very, very hard with his staff down at Fallsington Library, a lot of meetings at night to sort of go over what needs to be done and trying to iron out the costs. Mr. Sullivan as well, doing a lot of work down there to figure out how best to get this job done. I know it's been a while that they've been sort of I think they started out looking just at lights, and then they sort of, added windows, and they looked at the front steps, which are really literally falling apart. And so it definitely is something I think all of us agree it needs to be done, and it's a great part of our community that a lot of people don't know about or use enough, quite frankly. But this will certainly make it better. But I wanted to thank you, Pete, as well as Mr. Sullivan for their work.
I thank you also, Mr. Gray. I have heard comments about your participation in this.
Okay. Is there any public comment needed? See no hands. All right. Is there a motion then to authorize advertisement for bids for the renovations of the Fallsington Library?
So moved.
So moved by Mrs. Kozlowski. Mr. Snipes, you second?
Second.
All right. Motion made and seconded. Mrs. Pullen? Oh, never mind. We'll just do, I forgot I'm not spending money here yet. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. All right. We're going to take just a short recess. See some members fidgeting around here, and we'll get to a public comment after that. Okay, we'll call our meeting back to order. It's about 9:04 p.m. We are looking at public comment. We have several names on the list here. We're going to start, let's see here. I have somebody who signed in the non-resident sign-in sheet who I'm pretty sure is a resident, Mr. Queenan, right? Okay, so, and I'm not sure the other two gentlemen may be or may not be residents. I don't know if maybe you noticed it was non-resident. But Mr. Queenan, we'll start with you.
Mr. Queenan, I've known you for almost 50 years. How come you don't know you live in Falls?
I live at 704 Chatham Road, and behind me is the woods. And also, we call it Lake Caroline II back there, because it gets, every time we get a rainfall, it's flooded. And I've been trying for the last 4 to 5 years to get the county to open it up. They own the land or there.
Right.
But street sewers all run back in there from Falls. From Trenton Road, Olds Boulevard, from back behind the school, all come down in there to that ditch, which takes you down to Lake Caroline. But when we have a rainfall, it don't go down there. It stays in the back there and floods everything. And right now, the county said they are not going to do the mosquito control this year. They're going to be cut back. And if that Nile virus gets spread, and right now the mosquitoes are going to be starting pretty soon.
Right.
And there's a walkway, a right-of-way between Olds Boulevard and Chatham Road where the kids from Pennsbury come through there. And they have to walk through that muck. Instead of taking a bus, it's shorter for them to go that way.
Sure.
But well, I liked Mr. Galloway was supposed to get you supervisors all together and get commissioners from Bucks County together to see what can be done down there. And one person says, where I'm at, we're too low from Queen Anne there, where it goes under down to the lake. But it's not the case. When I used to work for Danhurst for part-time. When National Tube used to shut down for 2 weeks, well, I'd be working for them. And we used to clean that out every year and keep that water running. And I think at one time, there is concrete pipes where them new homes were built back north of us. And I don't think that was supposed to carry that water down to the lake, but was never finished. And I think if you look at some of the old maps, you might see where they were. It's between them houses, them new houses, them double-deckers back there.
Right.
So if you guys can get together and get something done and get rid of the mosquitoes anyways. And I got a lot of cattails growing down there now. And if you walk in there, that's what I'm trying to do. I've been trying for 4 to 5 years to get something done. Nobody wants to do anything. Pass the buck. Pass the buck.
When was the last time it was cleaned out?
When I worked there, I'd say about 58 or 59. And they claim it's full. You go down on Queen Anne and go where the little bridge goes across, goes under the road, you'll see it. The water just lays there.
This is the year to get action because we won that when I sued Danhurst. We won Lake Caroline. We won your ditch behind your house. But Jim Cawley, County Commissioner, is running for Lieutenant Governor. This is the year to hit him.
Well, he's the one that come down and looked at it, and he says, don't worry about it, I'll take care of it.
No, you just tell him.
About
Tell
6
him
years
you're
ago, he hasn't been
organizing a
around.
group in Fairless Hills, and that I'm part of it.
So that's,
I did say, I talked to you earlier before the meeting, just
Yeah.
for the other people who don't know, and I did take the photographs you had. Mr. Sullivan has them. He's going to send somebody out there to take a look to see, if there's, what the drainage issue is, so that if we can go to the county and say, look, you've got these pipes that are too small, this has to be cleaned out. We give them something concrete, it makes us a little bit more, a little bit stronger
the ditch
argument.
needs cleaned out all the way through.
Okay.
But most of it has happened since they put that sewer line in.
Okay.
Well, about 4 years ago, they come down the back and they built that ditch up around Pennsbury to hold water back. But all that water comes down in there. And them contractors have put it in because one night it rained, it flooded in there, and some of their equipment got wet, so they backhoed an opening and let all the water come back through there.
Okay.
If anybody looks at it, there used to be a ditch all the way down through there, and it's still there.
Right.
That's it.
Okay.
Wait,
all right.
don't go away.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Queenan, stay. Mr. Sullivan, Howard Levan was the Danhurst Corporation engineer. He designed the stormwater drains and the sewer and water systems for the 2,200 homes that were built in Fairless Hills. I had those plans when I sued Danhurst. And the stuff is all in community, property now. But those plans were given to our township engineer, Bruce Campbell. And I have asked for them several times at public meetings. They were going to have a new survey done. As I recall, Unitech engineers wanted to be paid $250,000 to duplicate the work on the plans which I had in my possession. So I gave them to our township engineer, and I haven't seen them since. Could you see what you could do to locate those? Because I think that Mr. Queenan's drains will be on those plans.
Yeah, it should
be. Okay?
Yeah, I'm sure Mr. Gray and I can go look in the the file room and see if we have anything, but.
Yeah, I don't know what they did. They had a whole bunch of stuff in the basement at Unitech Engineers. And I know that they were up on skids, because I went down there one time, and I looked at what was being stored there, and it looked to me like they went back to the pyramids. So he had all the ancient history, and he would have had my plans there. And I'm hoping that they never got destroyed, because those pipes and things have to be in the same locations, which would make it very easy for you. So please let me know if you have any progress. Thanks, Mr. Queenan.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Queen.
I'll help harass Collie for you.
There's 2 names on the non-resident sign-in sheet. I just want to check to see if these gentlemen are residents or not. Mr. Sensick and Mr. Fair, are you residents of Falls? Yes. Okay. All right. Mr. Sensick, you're on there first, so if you want to go up and speak now. We usually do residents, then non-residents, but since you gentlemen are residents, we'll just keep going with it.
Mr. Sensick, that sweet little white-haired lady that came up to get the note from me is your mother, is she not?
Yes, she is.
There. Mary? I apologize to you, Mary, for that. You didn't do anything wrong, nor did I.
Mr. Sensick.
I know. I just have a couple of quick comments. It was a good job this winter with the snow removal. So that's credit to the road department.
Sure.
I've been using the park lately to walk around it. Back in days to trap muskrat there and was woods and stuff, but it's a nice facility, and I see your men out there cleaning it up, planting trees, and give them credit. They keep it orderly. And I guess, thanks to all your supervisors for the job you do, the hours you put in behind the scenes and talking to people and going places and whatever. And I guess most of all to Dorothy. I mean, a lot of people, you like her, you don't like her. So it goes, throw mud at her, but she always cleans up like a diamond. I appreciate your effort for the township and the newsletter, and that's it in a nutshell.
You wait till you see the books I'm writing.
Yeah,
you just wait till you read those books. They'll make the newsletters look like Run, Spot, Run, first grade books. You watch.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay,
Good
thank
job.
you.
Thank you.
And we'll pass on your comments to the road program and to the Public Works crew for the road work and for the work they've done in the park. Thank you. All right, Mr. Fair.
How are you all tonight? I did catch about 3/4 of what Mr. Queenan had mentioned to you all. I'm a neighbor of Mr. Queenan's.
Okay.
I have been for the last 15 years. I can tell you this, when I moved into my property at 706 Chatham Road, which is right next door to Mr. Queenan's, we had a wonderful time. One of the reasons I bought the property was because of the open space in the back. Jim and I did a very great job of cleaning the property up. We would mow the lawn there every year. The county would go in and try to do that on occasion, and as the years went by, things got tougher and tougher for them. They had an awful lot of their equipment get stuck after this sewer project came through. I truly believe that the sewer project is the cause of the flooding that we're occurring in the back here. I really do feel that's the case. I don't want to go ahead and duplicate what Jim has said. Did a wonderful job. I would like to point a few more things out, however, one of which is that you have an awful lot of Pennsbury school students that use this property as a cut-through, okay? They're there every day, walking to and from school. Unfortunately, at least, I'd say 30% of the time, they're unable to do so because of the conditions. In many cases, I've woken up after a good rain, not a really hard rain, but a good rain, and there's at least 2 to 3 feet of standing water in my backyard. I'm one of the lucky ones. I have a retaining wall, but I've measured the water and the flow back there, and it's scary at times. So there are an awful lot of people along this street that are very concerned about the issue, especially with the county now saying with limited funds that they have, they're talking about scaling back on mosquito spraying this year, and that type of thing. That really concerns me. I don't have any children, but I know a lot of people on the street that do. God forbid any of them were infected with West Nile or any similar issue in reference to this. I'm sure you all will be hearing from them. I do have a small dog and another, older dog. I'm also concerned about them.
Sure.
So I know that Jim's been working with local legislators and local representatives. We've had the Dog and Pony Show a number of times down there, and we have had no progress. Unfortunately, it's an issue where we have the county saying that it's the township's issue and the township saying it's the county's issue. And I hope that doesn't continue.
Okay.
You know, I would like to get back to going ahead and taking care of county property the way I used to. Okay, guys?
All right. I
Don't sit
appreciate
down
that.
yet,
Yes.
okay?
Yes.
First of all, a fellow named Jim Hollister, not Hollister, Russell, Jim Russell, Hollisters were on Chatham Road further up, joined us in the lawsuit when we sued Danhurst for that property.
Yes.
And Hollisters were plaintiffs, as a matter of fact, and a family named Abrams. There were 4 families. My family, Hollister, Abrams, and Russells. Jim lived right at the creek, at, you know, right back where the Masonic home would be the closest to him.
Yep.
Now, the reason that the county got the property was because Falls Township didn't have any money. We were struggling. We didn't have it. County was richer than us. The shoe is on the other foot
Absolutely.
now. We've got lots of money, and you know that crazy lady brought it to this township. And they won't give her credit for it, but they spend it like drunken sailors. Now, but we can put pressure on them, and I will join you in trying to get that cleaned up.
I thank you,
I
my dear.
remember once I helped organize a cleanup down there. Queenan remembers, but that was 100 years ago, wasn't it? But we'll do what we can, okay? But we have the money now, but the county has an obligation as well. They've enjoyed the use of the property. They changed Lake Caroline Park to Oxford Valley Park, you know, so they're Charles in charge. Let's see them put some money up.
Well, that's it. Unfortunately, I think that we're at the end of their land, and so we kind of get forgotten a lot of times.
Well,
And I think also that the township now has a wonderful opportunity to take care of this issue. You guys boast your stormwater runoff program and how it is one of the best in the state. I think that this issue needs to be
well, see, that's what you can do when you got lots of money.
Thank you very much.
Good night.
Thank you. Mr. Sullivan, I know you're going to look at the property, or send somebody out to look at the property, but let's focus on, like Mr. Fair said, let's focus on the sewer project that was done in the past and see exactly, you know, if that played a role, what role it played, and if there's anything we can do about that. So
That's not sewer, that's the drainage
with the
ditch.
storm, right? and the
Storm
sewer
drains.
is what they were talking about. Yeah. So, okay. Roland Kenny.
Good evening, Roland Kenny, Falls Township. Next month on the 18th, I hope everybody gets out and vote. If you don't complain about nothing, like they've been telling you here for the last 2 meetings. And I like to see us keep John Galloway in this township. Don't let these ones that are trying to get the seat, because remember before, our representative was in another township, and we hardly ever seen him. So keep that in mind. I was going to say this, but I'm going to let this go for another time. Good night. God bless you.
Okay. Thank you. Madeline Jones.
He's tall. Good evening, Madeline Jones, Falls Township. First of all,
Mr. Kenny. Mr. Kenny. This is both. Hold the clock for a second, Lisa. Mr. Kenny? Roland? Sorry. Okay. Go ahead, Ms. Jones. Sorry
if
about
I'm correct, the calendar for tomorrow says Administrative Assistant Day.
Yes.
Okay. I'd just like to acknowledge all those from different departments in the township who have listened to me throughout the year and left my messages and forward them on. I don't take it for granted, and I truly, truly appreciate it. So I just wanted to mention that and include everybody in the different departments.
Okay.
And also, since this is Earth Awareness Week, Earth Day, I'd like to present before the board the opportunity to put out there a resolution for International Noise Awareness Day. I believe it's the 28th. And just in honor of that.
Okay.
Okay. And also, before I really begin, over the course of time, I believe Phil Supka and yourself, Mr. Harvey, have talked about sidewalks and walking in the streets and cars parked on sidewalks, and I hope that gets on the schedule with a little bit more recognition that what sidewalks are really for, they're not for part. And it's not just Falls Township, it's different boroughs, and it's becoming more and more. And vehicles, whether it's their mirror or their fender or bumper hanging over the sidewalk or whatnot, it's forcing people into the streets, and it's creating hazard for the concrete of the sidewalk. At some point, some homeowner's going to have to put out money, and we really, really need to recognize. In fact, someone said to me recently, Madeline, why do we tend to park on the driveway and drive on the parkway? So just a little bit of, if you want to put that in a cartoon, I don't know who's the originator. And also, I did make a phone call to Mr. Harvey about thanking him, and I'm sure everybody else who contributed to the traffic safety. And I just want to read a part of it, and I am looking forward to having planned meetings, if that's still going to be on the schedule at some point in time, to bring the community together to find out what we can do. And about focusing on operating and driving and getting off our cell phones, and that means no texting also. If I can read this, we can slow down, we can come to complete stops. I mean, I don't know if we really realize what the difference is between a yield sign and a complete stop. The driver's manual, okay, this is not something we can take yes or no to. This is the law, okay? Just like a stop sign, it's not up to us, are we going to stop or not? Or the speed limit is the maximum we can go. School zones. I mean, who obeys a school 15 mile an hour, even when a crossing guard is standing there? It's really troublesome. But regarding to what come to a complete stop, out of the driver's manual, it says clearly, with an intersection with a stop sign, you must, M-U-S-T, in big and bold proper letters, okay, stop. Slowing down without coming to a full stop, that means all wheels are not spinning, is illegal. They're quite emphatic about that. And throughout my day traveling, it's scary, because even though I or someone else ahead of me may stop, there's one or two vehicles behind us that, and I see this traveling down 13, not even at a ramp myself, and the cars will pull around the person stopped, creating hazards. So that's just, please continue on the safety and calming down of our community through traffic. And also, Earth Day, Awareness Day, noise pollution. Okay, again, it's an assault on ourselves. It's assault on creatures and critters. If we don't want to consider ourselves, which we're a little above the critters and creatures, we have a mind, heart, body, and soul, that's something. We go into restaurants, we go into public places, and we're totally being assaulted by flat screen TVs and the whole gambit, okay? And again, into our neighborhoods, into our homes, the boom boxes, the carburetor, the noise throughout the community. And one quick last thing, litter bags, I had bought some to show up. Litter bags around us, make up your own. And also, we need to concentrate with Earth Day on lighting. Night and day, we're divided for a purpose, and we have the stars and the moon at night. And at this point, our nighttime is disappearing, and it's affecting health of especially children, women, and as well as our critters and creatures, and all of us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Madeline. Okay, Dorothy Kozlowski.
I have several topics that I hope to cover, and I may not remain for board comment unless I'm inspired. First of all, I went to the Fairless Hills Little League opening on Saturday, and it was wonderful just to be with all those children. And while there, I was told by a number of the coaches and people who are interested that they are required to pay $1,000 to the Philadelphia Bible College so that they can have a field for their older boys to play baseball. And that bothered me because I do believe that we should spend our money on kids. And so I said, you'll have my support if you come to the meeting on Tuesday, and I will certainly back up any requests that you make. Now, I don't know if these individuals were busy. I know they were sincere, but they get a little bit intimidated by being involved in politics, and I just kind of laughed, and I said, hey, I've been around for 45 years, and I'm not a politician. They haven't gotten rid of me yet, so I want to be here for another 50 years, it looks like, till I get the job done. So I do want to ask Mr. Sullivan to take a look and see if there is any facilities that we presently have in Falls or any land area where we can consider making yet another baseball field. I looked around at that opening the first day. It was such a wonderful thing to see, and there had to have been at least 500 kids there. I tried to count them in clumps, but you know, they were moving like kids do move. But at any rate, this is the first shot. It took less than a year to get the Challenger field for the Levittown Little League on the way, and that had been in the works for 5 years with nothing being done. I'm signing on for this project. So all of you who are interested with the Fairless Hills Little League, you know, stay in touch, come to the meetings. You'll see that action will happen. Let me think now. The Mucci business, this contractor that was in such deep trouble here, stealing, mostly from seniors who were naive enough to give him money over and over again, and he ran a Ponzi scheme. And I tried to get this thing backed by our board, but that didn't fly. But we have an article from New Jersey. James Mucci and Stephen Parisi already face fraud charges in Bucks. And then they go on and tell the story. There's a whole bunch of people that were laundering checks and doing all kinds of stuff. It came from a Trenton check cashing business, which cashed $29,000 worth of counterfeit checks. Mucci's a big-time operator. Now, I think he's out on bail, but he'll be going to trial, and I think he'll be going to jail. But I want to say that it's a pity that we couldn't have acted as a board to do something about him. I hired him and set him up, and I'm going to write about that in my book, too. Now, let's see. There are a couple of things I'm going to hold for the next newsletter. Oh. At the last meeting, when Mr. Harvey was demanding that I do my board comment, you know, we're all equal here. I don't like somebody implying that I'm not behaving because I insist on doing what my position here permits me to do. And I challenged Mr. Harvey, but you give him an inch and he thinks he's a ruler or a whole yardstick. But what amazed me was when I started to get contacts from people telling me to take a look at 10:05 on the tape of the last meeting, that little time clock that's on there. And I watched. I don't generally look at those tapes. I'm present at the meeting. So Mr. Dens was over going like this, as though he had a gun pointed this way. And you have to keep your sense of humor or you'll go bonkers dealing with some of these guys. But the funniest thing that happened, and I'm going to ask Matt, who's in the camera room, to please take a picture of this. This gun was sent to me by an individual who said, the next time Mr. Dents wants to point a gun anywhere in your direction, give him this one to use. And it has the barrel sawed off, and of course it's inoperable, but if the person holds the gun and squeezes the trigger, then the bullet comes back at him. And that's what the public thought of him doing, this childish thing at these meetings. Now, you know, I tried to ignore it and laugh and not answer, but they just make wonderful stories for my books, and the public are so sweet. When I go out after a meeting, it takes me 2 hours to buy a loaf of bread because they have to comment on, and they give them very choice names, and then they apologize for the profanity. But I don't mind at all what they do to me. I'm going to be around for a long time yet, God willing, because I don't think God wants me up there rearranging heaven yet. He wants me to stay down here and do what I can to tell the public what's happening to their money, and I'm willing to do that. I signed on for that.
Okay.
My last comment is going to be register to vote. Our minutes are wrong again. We had
All
over
right,
30,000 registered
That's
voters. Mr. Harvey, put that gavel down.
Mrs. Wazowski.
Now, there's 45 minutes that are allowed for public
And
comment.
you've over your 5 minutes. If you'd like to stay and
Give him an
talk
inch
at
and
your
he
board
thinks he's a
comment,
ruler.
You may do that. If you want to talk during
I will talk
public
during
comment,
board
if
comment.
you want to talk
But
during,
you, sir, have no more authority here than I do,
Yes, I
and
do.
you're making a fool of yourself
No, I'm
every
sorry.
time you reprimand me
All right.
like a spoiled brat.
All right, Mr. Obert.
I want to make sure Matt gets a picture of this.
Good evening again, Gallus Obert. You know, I came here tonight to speak about one or maybe 2 items, but the way it looks after all the conversation, I could speak on 9. But the first thing I want to bring to everybody's attention is that the Pennsbury School District is now videotaping their meetings, and they're available on Comcast and Viso. And I strongly suggest that you people better start getting involved, because there's only 800 teachers and they pack the meeting every time, and you people to pay the bill don't even show up. So I guess maybe you just like paying taxes forever. The next thing is rather disheartening, because last month our President of the United States ordered the command at Haiti to no longer fly the United States flag at our base. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't remember ever a president ordering our national anthem not to be flown. Something's wrong with this country, and you people better start thinking about it. Every country that gives aid to other countries in natural disasters fly their flag in Haiti, but not the one that contributes 95%. Okay? Think about it, ladies and gentlemen. I really mean that. Real quickly, I'm not going to ask for a debate on this, but how's the boat ramp coming? How's the sidewalk coming? Okay? Remember, St. Joseph the Worker School is closing after June So I think that's something you better take in consideration. What's the holdup on Route 1 and Oxford Valley Road? Have you ever traveled from Route 1 and Pep Boys up to Coles? That has to be one of the worst concrete blacktop areas ever. Try it sometime. There's something wrong. I think Wawa is building a place right across from the old Fuddruckers, and they should have been done in pumping gas. But they're slow because I guess the intersection is not being taken care of. Can you kind of fill me in on that at a later time? The last one, including the Fairless Hills Little League field. I used to be president of Fairless Hills Little League at one time, and we had the smallest field. It was really a disaster, but what they've done up there is really great. It would be nice to have a bigger field and another field. But the thing that really bothers me is this flood situation behind Chatham Road. My son used to live on Chatham Road, and he moved. And I became involved, and the gentleman said when they put the big ditch up on Pensbury, all the water came downhill. Well, yeah, it did, but it used to come in my backyard in my cellar. I have pictures where the waters were a foot, maybe a foot and a half deep in my backyard between my house and the house next door. So that took care of that, but I had to watch them every bit of the way. I have pictures, I have drawings, and I have dates and comments about going to the county commissioners. And you're right, they do nothing because I asked them to do it. If you recall, what they did do was dredge the lake so that they could get more runoff water, but they stopped at the bridge, the footbridge. From there all the way back to where the water comes from behind Pensbury and down in between those homes is flooded. And it's filled with dirt and sediment. It has never, ever been dredged from there on back. That water is supposed to flow from that unnamed tributary all the way down to Queen Anne. And it's not. The water just sits there. I'm going to become involved with that with Mr. Engineer, Mr. Sullivan, and I'll bring him some pictures and I'll bring him some maps that I have, and maybe we can get that thing straight. Yeah. There's a galvanized iron, I guess you'd just call it stormwater drain line that comes from Olds Boulevard between the houses and stops. And I can just about tell you that that line is filled 75%. Come on out, I'll walk it with you. We'll take a stick and we'll shove it down there and find out just how much you got. Believe me, that has to be cleaned out and it has to be dredged and graded all the way down to Queen Anne, and then it has to go to the bridge, the footbridge at Lake Caroline Park. So okay. I will be very happy to share my information with you.
All right.
Okay.
I want to get to a couple of the issues you asked about. You asked about the boat ramp.
I'm not doing too well tonight here.
Okay.
Now I'll put it back on.
All right.
I'll see if I can hear you now.
You okay?
That's all right.
All right. I know you asked about the boat ramp. You asked about the sidewalk. And what was the other thing you asked? Or was that it? I thought it was something else. For updates on. Well, I'll tell you, the boat ramp, Mr. Sullivan, the boat ramp, we're waiting at this point. The construction, we're looking to start, what, July or August? Is that correct?
We're still on target to start sometime mid to late June.
Okay.
The public comment period is over. The Corps received a number of public comments, all of which have to be responded to publicly in writing, and none of which the Corps at this point thinks would hold up the permit. So right now we're still on target to start in June.
Okay. All right, so looking to start in June. The sidewalk, we did have a proposal, a concept plan really put together by our traffic planning and design, our traffic engineers. Board members have had those plans now for several weeks. At some point we'll have a discussion about, what we want to do with that. They gave us a couple different options, and that was really what we wanted. We wanted to see what were the options we could do Do we want to do any of them, none of them, one of them, two of them? We don't know. So we'll schedule that in the future at some point.
You know, every day Pennsbury has a gym period, and right now, because it's nice, the gym teachers take the students for a walk around the property. And guess where they walk? In the street. Come on.
Okay, well.
You can watch it. I mean, the sidewalks are built for maybe one or two people, but when you get 4 kids together, they're
Right.
4
Well,
abreast. They're not 4 in line, and they are not going to walk on the sidewalk.
Okay.
That's for darn sure.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you very much,
Thank
gentlemen.
you. Bob Alexis?
Bob Alexis, Falls Township. A couple weeks ago, or a couple meetings ago, Mr. Campbell was here. I didn't hear anybody bring it up. The man saved $100,000 because he came here and got information from Falls because of that Oxford Valley school. And everybody criticized the man. These other guys are down there 15, 20 years as school board members. This guy's in there 3 or 4 months. He came here and he got information. Nothing said. Also, we have a young kid protecting our country, got killed from North Park. Nobody brought it up or bought her ahead. I think his name was Lieutenant Nice. He might know. I forget. It was in a paper. Went to Bishop Egan, lived in North Park.
Township.
Down in Pensacola, Florida. Another officer from Bethlehem area. 2 out of 4 of them, they got killed, were from Pennsylvania. Nobody brought that up. I'm here again. I offered, all he was up there except Mr. Polkak wasn't here. Who would I get a volunteer, Mrs. Vazlasi, to go over to the community park? Why in the world, you brag about Joey Arnell, why did he put stone around there, landscaping stone to protect that water? 4 years ago, there was water hanging around her for 4 months. We had a lot of rain. I told you at the meeting a couple months ago, they threw it back in the lake. It's gone. Now we got more problems over there. I offered to come over for a walk. 80-year-old lady wants to go. You guys want to? You want to go tomorrow? How about Mr. Sullivan? Maybe he could tell them what to do over there. It's undermining. All you got is sand and stone over there. It's taking it out underneath. It's cracking. It's falling in again. Now we got it. There's one about 12 inches. It's doing, nothing's done over there. What we're doing is we're putting trees in over there. That could be on hold. We got rollers. You think they roll the ground, they're cutting grass, now they just go right over it. He, I don't know, he's an engineer. When you put ballast in there, or the next stone down to protect it, every time it rains over the wind, it just undermines it. And it's all sand. Sand's just like the shore. Takes it out into the lake. You go over by where the boat ramp is, it's eating that all around. When they made the park, she had this Johnson, I think his name was, what was he, a landscaper? She was quizzing them left and right. They made a lot of mistakes over there, and that's 2 of the biggest ones over there.
He wasn't an engineer, he was a landscaper. Made big mistakes that cost us hundreds and hundreds of thousands.
Something terrible. And it's not, we're going to pay more money, we're going to fix it. It's cracking. When it gets hot, it already fell in there, part of it. I'm over there every day. I come over there, you think I was a celebrity, the last meeting. Not the last meeting. This lady comes to me, were you the one over there? She said, I was over in the winter. I told you, they are ruining the park. Joey Arnell's boys, security, they follow the path they made, and now we got this guy comes over to clean the portable toilets. One guy, Ron Nicely, he took him right around the park. Instead of stopping there, nobody's there, he turns around and makes all kind of runs over that dock park. It's a shame. Also, Mr. Overt, he's gone. New Falls Road, I've lived there 41 years. Propac is for that, at least he voted against it, Mr. Dentz, he's new. About that sidewalk on New Falls Road. They hardly use it. It's St. Joseph's closing, they go through Vermilion Hills, the shortcut, and we want to put it up. You're going to put guardrails too? How about when we plow it? It's the state road. That's going to, snow's going to stay on there because I seen it. It took me 8 days. They said CODA enforcement officer come by on my street, and I said, would you tell them clean that road down, or walkway down there in my section? The kids usually go to school. They were in the area right around the corner. Why didn't they do it? I don't know. I mean, we're talking about Joey Arnell. He's this and that. He's not doing nothing over there. Why are we planting trees when we could take care of that park? Over by the skateboards, it's the same thing. He started that last year, put the trees in it, and it's sitting there. And now we got the nice weather, will the seed will grow in it. Even in September they put it in. Also, I was over there. Another thing. The Friday before Palm Sunday, and ProPac is for that sidewalk. That's where we're pushing. He's not here anymore. Falls Township had 3 police at about 5 o'clock by St. Joe's, and they were stopping the speeders up there. And they go fast there. And they're not going to be there all the time. 3 cars there, and they had 2 up by the Vermilion Hills Square Shopping Center, nailing them, I guess. And we want to put sidewalks in there. Also, I was over there Easter. We have a security guard over there, uses his own private truck on a Sunday. Somebody comes up looking for the security guard. They don't know who he is. You know anything about that?
Okay. All right, so we'll try. Well, honestly, we don't really know if it's a security guard using his own vehicle. Maybe one of the vehicles was not operating or something. We can check into that,
I think
obviously.
we got
but
4 of
we should, we should obviously. Usually, they're driving. Every time I see them, they're driving a Falls Township
I think
vehicle.
we got 4 of them. I've counted them.
Because
Mr. Rother was surprised when I took him down the park. He never was over there about last year. He couldn't believe it. He never seen the park, and he seen the security. I said, "No, we got 4 of them cars." And if he can't find one, I'm sure he gets 3. There's 3 others. That's his own private thing. Then they go over the other side. It's saturated yet by that creek over there. They're cutting the grass. There they go, ruts again. This lady comes up to me and she said, "Was that you at the meeting?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Where do you live?" She said, "Oh, the Perry Park." I come over in the winter too, and it was a mess. I think I was a supervisor. You got to do something over that park.
All right, now we have the one thing, of course, and I thank you for the comments. We'll talk to Mr. Arneo in terms of if you want to just show Mr. Sullivan maybe at some point on one of the maps of the Township Park where exactly you're talking about sort of it being undermined, but in terms of the stone. But just talk to him and just let him know so he can go out and take.
It's over right where the electric tower is on the opposite side. You can't miss it.
Okay.
I'm surprised security don't even ride it up. It's cracking. One of them is about 12 inches. It's going to fall in. You need bigger stone. Or why in the world did they put landscaping stone over there 4 years ago? I don't know. It's all in the kids threw it in. And then when it froze this past year, I told you, they got that blacktop. They threw it up there because it was froze. It's in the lake. And that's blacktop is tar and oil.
Right.
And that's what's doing it now. It's falling in.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Don't sit down yet. I want to say something
we'll talk
to you,
Mr. Arneo
okay?
about taking a look at how we work over there,
By the
driving
way,
on the grass.
excuse me, if you want to walk with me tomorrow, I'll take any one of you.
I can't do it tomorrow, but I can tell you that I would love to do a walking tour with you. And you know I like Joey Arneo, but I also support you. I consider you a friend. So
you do?
I absolutely, and I adore Joey Arneo. So I'd like him to come also so that we can straighten him out if he's not doing something right, okay?
Okay.
And you let me know whenever. I'm going to give you my phone number. And you call me, and I'll go on a walking tour with you and anybody else that wants to go. Okay?
All right.
You can't see nothing in a truck riding around. You got to go for a walk and look around.
Well, we're going to walk.
Anybody can do that. They don't see nothing half of the time.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Alexis.
Thanks.
Okay.
You're welcome.
All right. Those are all names we have on the list. Next item on our agenda is the minutes from April 6, 2010. Comments or questions from board members? Mr. Zipka?
Lately, in reading the minutes, they seem to get thinner and thinner. If this is supposed to be a legal document that we have to keep, there's a lot that isn't being included in the minutes. And whether it's by design or by trying to streamline what's there, but it seems to me that if you had to use them to prove a point when whole commentaries are left out by people, and with all the today with the electronic age and the communications age that we have, why isn't it just accepted, or can it be accepted just to use the tape? If we have the tape of the meetings, or be able to use the videotape, you'll be able to hear everything. You'll be able to see everything that happens, and you'll also be able to see all the emotion that goes on in the meetings. But again, it just seems like they seem to be getting a little thinner and thinner, and I don't think this is a good example of what should be used as a legal document. Just my comment on them.
Okay, Mrs. Wisłowski.
Yes, I haven't voted for minutes forever, and I have these all scribbled up as well. You know, I gave the actual numbers of 32,000 registered voters in Falls, and only 3,700 came out to vote last primary in 2009. I thought that was significant, but the big number wasn't written there. And I noticed that every time these members of the board to the left hiccup, they get their comments in the minutes. But pertinent things do not appear, and these minutes are considered the Bible for what goes on in the township. Well, I'm extrapolating the things that are significant issues that do not get reported in the minutes. It's like the Courier-Times. They ignore things that are of interest to the general public, and that's pathetic. I'm thrilled that my name doesn't appear in the yellow rag, because I hate that paper. I still don't subscribe to it. But I can tell you, I don't mind the minutes being short. I have always held that minutes ought to say the issue, a brief recapitulation of the issue, and then who makes the motion, either to accept or deny that motion, then it gets seconded, that name should appear, and then how the vote went, and then move on to the next issues. We could do a meeting, a 1-hour meeting on one page, a 2-hour meeting on 2 pages. Sometimes we go 16 and 17 pages, and it's ridiculous. And I thought about that when we were buying the fertilizer, and I thought, gee, if we could only find a way to can some of the political speeches that I hear in this room, that purchase wouldn't have been necessary. We'd have enough fertilizer to do all of Falls Township. So these minutes are not accurate, and I'm going to vote no, and that's all I have to say. I'm not going to bother to try to correct them, because they get approved by 3 board members anyhow.
Mr. Snipes.
Yes, Mr. Chairman and Mrs. Pullen, excellent minutes again. And as far as comment on people not being equally reported, as I look at the minutes from the last meeting between public comment and board comment, Mrs. Wisłowski has almost an entire page. For me, there's nothing. That's because I didn't speak, which makes sense. So when people speak, they're recorded. When they don't speak, they aren't.
I would rather there be nothing about me in the minutes if it's inaccurate. I know that, but don't use me as an example then.
Every single thing, obviously.
You'll compliment her on the inaccurate minutes. You're an idiot.
It's a summary of what we're trying to do. I'm not quite finished yet. It's a summary of what we're trying to do, not on word-by-word record. And also, if someone wants to add something and make a correction, they can do that. That's what we're here for.
Okay, Mr. Dents.
No comment.
Okay, thank you. And I also have no comment. Just a note, the minutes are a little over 7 pages long, you know, certainly it's difficult. It's not an easy job to take everything that happens in meetings that last 3 hours and sometimes 4 hours and boil it down. And in one situation, you have a supervisor saying there's too much, and one supervisor saying there's too little. And so in many cases, I guess it's sort of like Goldilocks here. It's right in the middle. It's just right. So, but I don't have any comments or questions either. Thank you, Mrs. Pullen, for all your work. Is there a motion to accept the minutes as presented?
So moved.
Seconded.
Motion made and seconded. Mrs. Pullen, can you poll the board, please?
Mr. Sefkin?
No.
Mrs. Wisłowski?
No, absolutely no.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dent?
Yes.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes, excellent minutes once again.
Okay, engineers report dated April 16, 2010. This is the March engineering report. Mr. Sullivan, any highlights you want to hit on here?
think we covered a lot of stuff during the meeting.
Okay. All right, good
thing I can
enough.
say is the elevator will soon be fixed in the Township building.
Okay. All right, thank you. Mr. Zupka, comments or questions?
Yeah, Mr. Sullivan, this is, again, one of the smaller engineering reports. Is this more a sign of the times that, we aren't seeing the projects, we're getting caught up on other things, but new ones aren't really coming in and getting started, and, it's all just sign of the times, the economy?
I would say that's correct, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Kozlowski?
Mr. Sullivan, just find a field for those older little leaguers. Thank you.
Mr. Snipes?
No comment, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Dents?
No comment.
No, I have none either. Okay, thank you. Is there a motion to accept the March 2010 engineering report as presented?
So moved.
Seconded?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, bill list for April 20th, 2010 is in the amount of $1,645,918.39. Of that, $1.6 million, $1.2 million is salary and insurance. Let's see, a very, very sizable chunk, 75% goes just to that issue. And we also have different money for streetlights, fire hydrants, highway, some crime prevention things for the police department as well. Okay, is there comments or questions about the bill list as presented? Mr. Zupka?
No.
Mrs. Kozlowski?
Yep, you can read about them in my book, Mr. Harvey. I'm documenting everything.
Okay, that's fine. Mr. Snipes?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Dents?
No.
Okay, and I have none. There's only a few hands left. Any comments or questions on the bill list? All right, is there a motion to accept the bills as presented, $1,645,918.39?
For April 20th, 2010, yes.
Okay.
So moved.
Motion made, is there a second?
Seconded?
All right, Mrs. Pullen, pull the board, please.
Mr. Zupka?
No.
Mr. Gillespie?
Absolutely no. And record it that way, please.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dent?
Yes.
Mr. Snipes?
Yes.
Okay, executive session, I believe we have an issue or need for that. Manager comment, Mr. Gray?
Yes, thank you. Just a few items tonight. The Park and Rec Department has secured a quote for electricity at the Falls Township Community Park Security Shed. The quote for the electric is $1,985 from Mycar Electric. This will provide power to run electrical units in both the summer and winter months. Some of these items include a heater in the winter, a fan or several fans in the summer, lighting, phone chargers, and several other electronical items. At this time, the board is asked to consider this quote for $1,985 for electric from Mycar Electric at the Falls Township Community Park Security Shed. In addition, Bill Reese, Director of Park and Recreation, is here as well.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, comments or questions from board members for Mr. Reese or Mr. Gray regarding the proposal to put some electric down at the shed at the Township Park for security and other personnel. Mr. Zupka?
What's the main idea if to have the heat in there in the winter? Is it for the personnel or items that are stored in there to, to prevent freezing?
Combination of both, Mr. Zupka, yes.
Okay, but we're not going to have air conditioning in it.
No.
Just fans running to circulate. Thank you.
Yes.
Mrs. Kozlowski?
How much? How much will it cost?
$1,985. It's on your packet here, Mrs. Kozlowski.
I'm not going to make any comments, and I'm not going to support it.
Mr. Snipes?
No, it seems like a necessary thing to do.
Mr. Dents?
No comments.
Okay, and the one issue I had raised when I had heard a little bit about this was for Mr. Gray to talk to our fire marshal just to see if he had any issues in terms of putting electricity to the building. What was his comments regarding that?
I asked him about that topic. He had no issues about the heaters, just to make sure that they were secure at the end of any shift when the shed would be closing up for the night. But he had no issues.
Okay. All right, obviously that's going to be clear to the people who work there. Okay.
Yes.
All right, that's all I had. All right, don't imagine there's any public comment needed. There's not many people here. Is there a motion then with regards to the $1,985 to put electricity in at the community park security shed?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the expenditure of $1,985 to install electricity at the Falls Community Park security shed.
Second the motion.
Okay, motion's made and seconded. Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Zupka?
No.
Mrs. Kozlowski?
I vote no because anything that would need to be kept heated during the wintertime could be put in one of our warmer buildings and taken down when there was no danger of freezing anything.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Mr. Stapes?
Yes.
Okay.
My next item is a request for an extension of time for the Liberty Towers project. I have a letter from Crystal Fisher from Lamonomits LLP representing Liberty Towers requesting an extension of time until July 31st, 2010. The board is asked to consider this extension for Liberty Towers.
Okay. All right. I don't imagine any comments or questions from board members. Liberty Towers, just to be clear, this is not, so people hear towers, and I don't want them getting it confused with the property that's looking over at West Trenton, the Viking property. This is not that. This is a communications tower. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So just in case people think this is a different project, I want to make that clear. All right. Is there a motion then to grant the letter of extension to July 31st for Liberty Towers?
So moved.
Second.
All right. Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
And my final item tonight is just a few announcements from the Park and Rec Department. The Falls Township Summer Camp registrations the Park and Rec Department continues to accept registrations for the Summer Rec program. Pinewood Pool membership applications, the Park and Rec Department continues to accept registrations for the Pinewood Pool memberships. There are family memberships, individual memberships, and senior citizen memberships available. The annual Earth Day event at the Falls Township Community Park Phase 2 Pavilion will be held on Sunday, April 25th. This event starts at 1 p.m. until 3 p.m. Activities include weeding, mulching, planting flowers, trash pickup, and there will be information provided regarding Earth Day and environmental issues. If you have any additional questions regarding these events or any other events in the Park and Rec Department, please call 215-949-9000, extension 220, 221, or 222. And that's all I have.
Okay. Thank you very much. All right. Move on to board comment, and we'll start this evening with Mr. Dents.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to start by, as it was brought up earlier by Mrs. Kozlowski, apologizing to the many people I offended with my gesture at the end of the meeting. I got many emails from people, and that's that. I am truly sorry for it, for all the people that I did offend. Also, I spent a couple days this week, Sunday and Monday, at Hershey for the Township Supervisors Conference. Went to a few different seminars. Green energy seminar, which was very informative. So traffic studies, which is a big issue for us. We learned a lot. I learned a lot about traffic and controlling it, whether there's really problems, whether there's really not problems. Some co-stars, I went to the co-stars seminar, learned a lot about the co-stars list, website, Uniform Construction Code. And something, I met a lot of supervisors, and something that myself and a lot of people take for granted is what an issue trash collection is financially for other townships that isn't a burden for us. And people were amazed at that we don't pay for trash collection, where many townships, it's a big deal. And they're doing everything they can, having all these seminars on how they can reduce costs, and it's not even a problem for us. That's all I have tonight.
Okay. All right, thank you. Thank you for going, and look forward to working with you on some of those issues. Mr. Zupka.
Thank you. Really don't have much. I was interested with the quote that Madeline Jones had about parking in a driveway and driving in a parkway, and For those of you who might remember him, that was an original quote from George Carlin. And he's had a lot of quotes, and some of them, you can't get into, but that was an interesting one. May 18th, everybody remember to get out and vote. As it was said earlier, if you don't get out and vote, you have nothing at all to complain about. So keep it in mind. It's coming up fast, and make your choice wisely. Have a good evening. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Kozlowski?
I was going to comment on what Mr. Dents had to say, but I won't. I wanted the public to know that I did meet with Mr. Dents at the request of a prominent businessman before the election. And it was I'll let that go. I'm not going to get into that because it's going to start a fight here tonight, and I'm not interested in fighting. But I can tell you that if I had known what would have transpired after the election, I certainly would never have endorsed him. So I want to apologize to the public for having done so. I did it on faith. You have to try to believe in people once in a while. He attacked me shortly after that at a meeting, and now we have this. You know, Mr. Snipes, you're such a giggly little schoolgirl. You behaved like a child. You behaved like
you're making
a
up about
child.
Mr. Dents. He's barely been on the
You weren't
board.
there.
Mrs.
You weren't there.
Been here already.
Mr. Dents, what?
There was a businessman. This is my public comment.
I was going to comment
Mr.
on the
Dents.
gesture I made towards you.
All right.
It wasn't directed at you during
Well,
the meeting.
let me tell you.
It was not even during your public comment.
It
I know
was
that
when
you
I
thought-
was arguing with Mr. Harvey.
Yes.
That
I
was when.
apologize.
You
I apologize that
defended
you
your
thought it was
buddy.
you. It was not true. That's
Yeah,
not
and
true.
that
It was directed at a person that was in the audience.
you know what, it told, no.
Yes.
But you know what?
I told you that Saturday.
You have allowed, I know that, but that's not how the public took it.
And I apologize for
I know,
that.
and it's not for me to accept or deny your apology, but I'm telling you that our meeting, I was going to go into great detail. I've decided not to, but you had the wherewithal to be able to have me leave the board, which I wished to do, but that blew up just shortly afterward. Now, I want to talk about Pennsbury taxes because that's the big issue, and I don't think it's a joke. This is the only window of time whenever the taxpayers in Pennsbury will be able to take over the school board and have the decisions made for the benefit of the children and their parents. And I can't emphasize enough how important that is, because the dismal turnouts in the primary elections have been what have given this government a contentious board and a lot of secrecy. I'll deal with that another time. I want to address Pennsbury now and how important it is. I have signed on with Simon Campbell, and I told him that I will write the newsletter for Falls Township for the school elections, the school board elections, and the important election is in the spring. After the spring vote is counted, it's all over. So don't delude yourselves, taxpayers out there, that you have the general election to make things right. It doesn't happen that way. After 45 years of observing elections and their results and participating, I can tell you that the window of time for you to stop complaining about your school taxes and do something about them, and that time will be this coming spring of 2011. And you've got to remember, it's 1 year from now. Get registered to vote. And the time to register is now, to make sure that there's no slip-up about whether or not you're eligible. Thank then you can vote in the general election and then the spring election, which is all important to the education of your children, the frugal spending of our tax dollars, and making sure that the people who are on the school board have done their homework and the research. The gentleman who spoke tonight during public comment mentioned Simon Campbell. He had asked me about what the building permits cost for the Oxford Valley School. And the $100 and some thousand that he got refunded was as a result of that answer. I studied that Oxford Valley School very, very carefully, and I never saw such idiotic waste in my life. I forgot more about construction than was used in that school with common sense. And I have that detailed, and I have comparables, schools that have spent much less money and got far more of a quid pro quo for that expenditure. So don't gripe to me about the school taxes when you see me out and about, because the first question I'm going to ask you is, are you registered to vote? If you are not, then I will be happy to provide the documents for you to sign and get registered. But I will go through one more battle, and that will be the Pennsbury battle next spring. Good night, everybody. I do appreciate the taxpayers. I love all of you. That's why I've devoted 45 years of my life to fighting for you with no political ambitions, but to make our community a better place. And as far as the trash collection and the fact that we have no problem, it is absolutely documented and not refuted that those contracts were negotiated by me. The 2 contracts that I did alone were copied then by 2 solicitors, not 2 solicitors, Mr. Clark, who got $50,000, and Mr. Kupperman from downtown Philly. And that is well documented too. And I even have comments from Waste Management that have never been made public. They will appear in the book.
Okay. Mr. Snipes.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, moving to something positive and acknowledging people in the community for the hard work they're doing. I got a call from Mrs. Kathy Ormond, who's been a tireless worker with the Levittown Fire Company number 1, and she asked me to announce the what I'm going to call a giant basket raffle. This is a huge fundraiser for the Levittown Fire Company. Will be on Saturday, April 24th. They already have 150 baskets. There are show tickets, movie rentals, $100 of heating oil, salon treatment, Pamper Mom basket, sports items, dinner gift certificates. The admission is $15, and it's 5 to 9 p.m. The drawing is at 7:30, and you don't have to be present to win. You can just attend earlier. The price includes 20 free tickets and food and drinks, and additional chances can be purchased separately. Advanced tickets are available. This is a wonderful way to support a crucial community effort in our community and people that are volunteering and maybe not out tooting their own horn like some folks do, but really are supporting other people in the community and doing the right thing for the rest of us, keeping us safe. So I hope folks will consider that. That's at the Colonial Hall, Falls Tullytown Road, and Mill Creek exit of Route 13 on April 24th. The only other thing I quickly wanted to announce was to thank Mr. Gray and Public Works for the tree planting they've done right here on Township property across from the parking lot. That's obviously going to help the look of our building and the look of the grounds. And I also, several people have mentioned to me a need for us to begin to think about our parking area and the facade of the building and to do some more landscaping and some beautification. So I hope we can put that on our list to spruce up the building and bring it up to the standards of our status as a township.
Sure, it might be something we could ask our Shade Tree Commission to look into.
Absolutely.
So, okay.
That's it, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. Just a few things. I want to start off with a comment or a a notice. I was contacted earlier today by Ms. Scarpiello, Kim Scarpiello, our tax collector. She was unable to make it here tonight. She's ill, but she usually shows up around this time and also later in the summertime to let people know when the taxes are due and her hours and things of that nature. And she did want me to make people aware that taxes, the county and township taxes you got a few weeks ago, are due on the 30th of April. So it's 10 days from now. Okay, so just keep that in mind. The taxes have to be in by 30th of April, those county and township bills. In terms of the issue we had earlier this evening with Mr. Smith and someone who had worked on his apron or sidewalks and curbs and things, and now he's taking a look at the issue that there's going to be work done on that street. Certainly that's something we want to try and rectify. I know that was an issue Mr. Snipes had brought up to me, and I talked to Mr. Gray, and he talked to Mr. Gray as well, and so we're going to try and make sure that our staff, or what we probably should do is just have that listing of streets, not just for this year, but next year and year after, even just, lacquer them down on that table on there, just so people walk up to that desk where they're going to file for a permit, and they see that list right there in front of them, pretty large, bold-face, highlight, whatever. If they're looking to do one of those kinds of jobs, to take a look and see if their street is coming up. And even for the people that are going to be coming up this year, some of the streets in Birch Valley, a few streets in Farrell's Hills, to make sure that you're looking at that issue. And again, the list is on our website, streets, when they're going to be done. It can change slightly if the public works crew goes out there and they see that a road that was scheduled for a couple of years from now is getting worse faster than they thought it would. They can move it up and have it done sooner. So the list is going to change, but obviously there are some roads that are done, and there are some roads that are going to be coming up. So that's something you can help yourself with. And lastly, had a lot of complaints, especially over the past few months, from people regarding the old Fuddruckers property. This was the issue. I knew there was something else Mr. Obert had brought up. There were three things. He asked about the boat ramp, he asked about the sidewalk issue, and he asked about Fuddruckers, and I couldn't remember the third one, and I remembered it after he had left, so I apologize to him for that. But the Fuddruckers property, the issue was essentially between PennDOT and the property owner. Falls Township's role and all the issues going on was done a while ago, a year ago or so, something like that. And so it really was an issue between the owner and PennDOT, trying to solve exactly what the money issue was going to be. PennDOT has to take property. The property owner needed a certain amount of property, needed a certain amount of money, basically was asking for a certain amount of money. That issue has been solved. And I know Mr. Clark had some conversation with the property owner and his attorney, and the good news is that we believe the demolition of that building is going to start very, very soon. We're notified by TOFA today, or yesterday, Mr. Gray, today, that they have officially shut off all water and sewer service. They've capped the lines there, and so that's and doing it in preparation for demolition. So a lot of people have noticed the building. The building's falling apart, literally. It's becoming a danger in addition to an eyesore, and so it is going to be coming down in the very near future, so that's good news. Now, what that means for the status of the road program, that particular project, we don't know. We're hoping that PennDOT can put it high up on the list of projects that they're going to be doing. We've had several conversations with Senator McElhenney, who's been trying to push that issue with PennDOT. So hopefully that comes to fruition. That intersection gets changed, because it obviously is not a great intersection, as everybody knows. All right, and that's all the issues I had. Again, thank the staff and all the employees here for the work they did putting this meeting together. Also want to send condolences to Mrs. Rukoff, our finance director, on the loss of her father recently. So she's obviously a very, very crucial part of the staff here, and we send our thoughts and prayers to her and her family. And with that, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.